my beautiful people of TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. It's nice to see you. I'm Bullhorn Betty. We are covering the case of Miss Nancy Guthrie. We've been covering a lot to do with Luke Daley. But before we get into the discussion of Luke Daley, which we found some bombshell information about a 2025 case regarding Luke Daley. Could this explain why he's involved in the Nancy Guthrie case? We're going to get into all of this in today's episode of the Bullhorn Betty Show. So come on in and sit on down, folks.
Bullhorn Betty rocks.
Get yourself your coffee or your favorite beverage. Come on in, get comfortable. We got a lot to talk about, including a forensic psychologist.
Coffee steaming, files on the table. We clocking early, hunt what's unstable. Bullhorn Betty on the curb, voice raised. Flip-flop queen with the homemade phrase. Notebook thick, got the screenshots flag. Names in red ink, every rumor, every tag. Late night live stream, screen glow on her face. Truth in her throat, got a lawman's pace. She don't blink when the threats roll through. Come see me, she says, if you think that's cute. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that they gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we get that justice. Insane Asylum, that's our crew nickname. Laugh so loud while we track these names. Whiteboard wild with the webs we spin. Pen to pen, see the pattern sink in. Turmo shaking when the case goes cold. We stir it back up, won't do what we're told. Doorstep question, side eye stare. Where were you that night? We hanging right there. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that they gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we get that justice. This for the faces on the milk cart labels. This for the families praying at tables. This for the names that the news won't say. We say them out loud every single day. Every day. If you're running in the dark, better feel that fear. Betty got a bullhorn right in your ear. Coffee club crazy, but we think so clear. One small town, whole world gonna hear. Hey! Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that the day gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we take questions.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! It is another Manic Monday! Good morning, my beautiful people out there in the ether. I am Bullhorn Betty. We have been covering the case of Miss Nancy Guthrie, 84-year-old grandmother, mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie's mother, ripped out of her bed in the middle of the night by a masked gunman, never to be seen again on February 1st. We've been searching high and low for this lady. We have not found her. We know that she is dead in our heart, body, and soul. This lady did not survive this attack. We understand what kind of condition she has. And according to everything that we understand about her condition, there's no possibility of her going this long without any type of medication. Her body, her poor little body, just cannot survive without that medication. That medication truly is life-sustaining medication. So there is a clinical forensic psychologist out there that helped O.J. Simpson I guess, come in. You know, he was on the run. If you guys remember the whole thing with O.J. Simpson, if you guys are old enough to know, most of you guys are, where he's in the Bronco driving down the road. He's not surrendering. They need to bring him in. He's being arrested for his ex-wife's murder and her boyfriend's murder. And so this particular psychologist, this criminal psychologist, forensic psychologist, Dr. Chris Mohandi, convinced OJ to surrender. So this particular forensic psychologist, criminal psychologist, whatever you'd like to refer to this doctor as, has made some assessments on this case. And so there's quite a few articles because, you know, there's not a whole lot of stuff going on. And so when we have an expert kind of coming to the forefront, giving some insight into their opinion about the situation based on their education and experience, you know, a lot of people tune in. So I got about 4 articles here related to this exact same thing. But the reason why I look, and we're not going to read all 4 articles, obviously, but I think it's important for people to see that I just don't look at one article to formulate an opinion. And the reason why I typically don't just read one article to formulate an opinion is because there's different styles of writing. There's different people that think differently about what they're hearing, and they are journalists. So when you read several different articles about the same topic, you get an overview, because remember, no matter what they try to say, thank you for the happy poop. We love happy poop. We love happy poop. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How am I living without my buttons? I don't get why I do not have my buttons. My buttons are super important to this show because I, unlike everybody else, I love pushing buttons. And if people don't, I've heard from people that say my button pushing is annoying. Great. If my button pushing is annoying, then, you know, you don't have to hang around. We'd like you to be here, but if I'm so annoying, I mean, I get it. I can be annoying. Well, hello there, Army vet. Hello, 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 hello. And I just want to say, I think it's so cute. Like you guys don't know. This is something you guys don't know. See, I sneak around on these streets. I sneak around on these streets all the time, you know, because I do nothing but work. You guys know all I do is work. Even though you guys don't see me very much, I literally work all day long, right? And so I'm a little sneaky. So I got to hear your voice, Army vet. I love that the coffee club, I love seeing the coffee club hang out together. So I happened to be on Pretty Little Clues, sorry. Pretty Little Clues, and they were having a conversation about this. So I just wanted to tell you, you guys are rocking it out. I love the conversation. I didn't want to, take any thunder away, so I just kind of watched you guys. So it was really good conversation, But just thought I would let you know, even when you don't think people are watching, we're watching. We're always watching. We're always out there. So you guys did a great job, and I just wanted to say that. So kudos. So. Thank you. Thank you for being what's best here on these streets. I love it. I love it. I love it. So anyways, getting back to this, we're going to kind of just dive right in because I know you guys aren't even here for this, the forensic psychologist, right? That's just like a bonus. We're here of what in the world is going on. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. I want to shout out to the person that sent this to me, knows who sent. I try to find the email. This is what happened with Pretty Little Clues is I found something. I was running the story and I couldn't find the freaking email that it came from. So I didn't even know who to give credit to. I see the receipt. I took the receipt off. So I don't, and since it's a first name and not a stage name, I don't know if I have permission to use their name. So whoever sent me this paperwork, when I start presenting it, you're going to know exactly who you are. I just want to give a big shout out and say thank you. I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you. And I see that there was a cost for this paperwork. So if you send me another email, I'd like to personally thank you, but I'd also like to pay for the paperwork. I don't want you being out any money. So I would love to sponsor the paperwork. I don't even care if you've shared it with other people or not, but would like to help. So please send me another email because I I tried to look for it this morning. If I didn't save it in the file, I would have lost it. That's how I have a lot of emails. So I try to have a system, but this morning I about freaked because I couldn't find it. And I'm like, I saved it to the file. I know I saved it to the file, and I checked on the computer, and I'm like, where is it? I don't see it in there. So I went back to the phone, and sure enough, there it is in the file. So then I reorganized my file on the computer, and then I saw it. I'm like, you know. So thank you, whoever did that. But we appreciate you. Oh, thank you, guys. Thank you already. Melanie, thank you for gifting a Bullhorn Betty membership. Let me just go up here and say hi to everybody. We've got Mama, been here for 11 months. We sing a special happy birthday to you next month. Next month. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Donna, floating hard. Phil, happy poops. Cynthia, we appreciate you with the beautiful sun this beautiful Manic Monday. And we be jamming with Phil, followed by Melanie gifting a Bullhorn Betty membership. And that's because I'm a love machine. Ow! Ow! Welcome to this crazy family. We find out who brought it in. Thank you, Weather Junkie, the beautiful sunshine. We appreciate you. Who got it? Hot damn. Hot damn. Welcome to this crazy family. You've been around a while. Crazy family, but it's official. It's official. Welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Grab your straitjacket in your padded room and welcome. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. You're gonna want Unit A. It has the less screams. This like in the middle of the nights. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Good morning. Hey, Steph Lynn. How are you? My pups are getting spayed this morning. I'm a nervous wreck. I know. When our poopies go in for surgery. Nail biter. I remember how nervous I was for Delilah. I didn't want her under anesthesia. I'll be honest with you. I get so nervous. She came out all happy and healthy. Oh, she was perfect. She was such a good little girl. She's just a good little girl. I don't know what I did to be blessed with such a... I look at her. I just have to hold her and smell her some days. I don't know why. I just love her. I really do. I don't know. I was sitting there thinking, like, there's not one person. Like, my mom ever found out that this dog was here more than like 8 hours by herself, she would know there's something definitely wrong with her daughter. I think the longest I've ever left Delilah, and she's never left unattended, because I always make sure that Glenn knows that I'm leaving. I'm going to the county meeting or something like that, and so he'll come over here and let her out and check on her. And so she's never really by herself, even when she's here all day, she's never by herself. She's got a little somebody to take her out and go potty and, just do stuff. And she loves Glenn. So it just works. But anyways, guys, it's nice to see. Oh, thank you, Laurie. We appreciate you, Love Bug. We appreciate you. We love all the love. Thank you, guys. So this forensic psychologist, there's OG Jitterbug. Thank you, Love Bug. Thank you. And she says, good morning, the amazing BHB and the beautiful beans. Happy Monday to you too. Good vibes, pretty little clues. It's nice to see you. Good morning. All right, guys, we're going to get into Luke Daley kind of a little bit after the forensic psychologist conversation. The forensic psychologist is pretty stinking interesting, but before we even talk about that, we were talking a little bit about lawsuits yesterday. You guys remember that? And I was talking about, does the family have the ability to sue, and kind of I had to kind of trash this article yesterday, because we got kind of hung up on what were we talking about yesterday. We got hooked up on yesterday, but it kind of took us on a little tangent, like a 30-minute tangent. Oh, it was the death certificate. That's what it was. So I had to kind of adjust the show in real time because we talked about something that I wasn't expecting to come up. And one of the articles that we had to kind of put to the wayside was this article here, even though yesterday was when we were talking about the lawsuits. So I wanted to circle back to this before we dive into the psychologist and the fact that this psychologist believes that this is a burglary, which is what we ultimately kind of circled back to. And we're going to be kind of having a conversation, and then we're going to get into this damaging information about Luke, which, in my opinion, I think goes to another knock against him. As to be, it's wild. It's wild. This case that he's going to court for is a lot bigger than any of us really understand it to be. You're talking about lots and lots of money lost with this arrest. So we've got to talk about a lot of different things that are going on. You got to understand, I think we need to understand certain avenues of what I'm about to present about Luke Daley. It's a little alarming for me. I won't lie. Rebby, thank you for the button from the bottom of my heart to the wonderful coffee club that brightens my day in Switzerland. Oh, that is so sweet. Oh, I love that, Rebby. That is so sweet. DeBoss, so lovely to see you. Absolutely. Alaska girl, it's nice to see you. See, guys, this is what it's all about. I love that. I love knowing that somebody comes here, we talk about true crime, we're a little unit, a little family, and everybody just loves each other, and it brightens everybody. I mean, we talk about such gunky stuff, so finding a little home that we can talk about gunky stuff and, still brighten people's day, that is just, I love that. I love that. I love that for you. I love that for the champ. I just love that. It makes my heart happy. It makes my heart happy. So thank you for that. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. So, does the Guthrie family have grounds to sue Pima County over the alleged investigation missteps? And it's my opinion, yes, they do have some grounds. At what point would those grounds not be premature? We were talking about some stuff like with the birth certificate and stuff like that, and I know there's some things going around, and a lot of people don't understand how the laws work and how things happen, and sometimes you just have to explain things because what I was hearing yesterday just didn't logically or lawfully even make sense. Like, people can get in trouble, some serious trouble, for doing some of the things like manufacturing a birth or death certificate that hasn't been authorized. Those are some major criminal, I think those might even be felony type charges. So for me to believe that somebody's going to do that for something just doesn't make sense. So obviously I don't think the first thing human beings are going to do is, commit a crime. So I have to look at another logical explanation for something, and so my mind doesn't automatically go to, oh my gosh, somebody's committing a crime for a click and view, okay? I mean, I just don't believe society is like that. But, our society might be kind of growing toward that trend. But either way, I just don't believe that to be the truth at this juncture. So, anyways, getting back to this, we know that Chris Nanos and the Pima County Sheriff has had quite a lot of multi-million-dollar lawsuits just peppered over the department over the last few months. I mean, we had a $25 million lawsuit. The sheriff got a win on that. That was tossed out on its butt. It was, I even said, this is a little janky when we were reading it. I'm like, I don't know. I just wasn't, it just didn't seem like it was a really strong case, but this $176 million case, it's very strong. It's a strong case. Now, is the guy going to get $176 million? I doubt it. I doubt he's going to get anything, of that nature. Is he going to get most likely a multi-million-dollar settlement of some sort? I believe that is a good possibility. To what extent? I guess the courts will decide, because I don't think the county is going to settle the type of multi-million-dollar lawsuit that they're looking at. I think it's going to ultimately go to trial, but we'll see. They may be very. I mean, I would be very fearful of this going to trial. I I'll tell you that. If I was law enforcement or the state attorney, that $176 million lawsuit, I'd be very nervous about that going to a jury, because I'm sorry, there's going to be a lot of mothers and fathers on that jury, and a 24-year-old gamer, that's going to be like their child or grandchild. And for this kid to have went out of his way to make sure law enforcement knew that he was being attacked online and that they were threatening to swat him and basically being condescending and mocking him, and then going and shooting and paralyzing him. Yeah, I think they're in a lot of trouble with that one. But, and then we had Carlos with, a $3.5 million or something like that, dollar lawsuit for his. Now that, to me, in all fairness, I'm not sure if that's going to be, I expect that one to settle. But I don't think he's going to get damages, because I don't see where he was in the eyes of the court system. I don't see how he was damaged. They executed a warrant that was authorized by a court. You're going to have a hard time, really. Again, outside of them lying and outside of something bad, that law enforcement did. But, we do have to kind of stay guarded, because in all fairness, David Stivers was leading this investigation at the time. And I'm not really trying to go out of my way to be disrespectful to the man. God bless him in his service. People make mistakes all the time. He's just not good at what he does. And that's okay. Again, just saying that is not me going out of my way to be disrespectful. It's being honest. And sometimes honesty hurts people's feelings. But I've got nothing against David Stivers on a personal level or anything like that. But at the end of the day, this is a lady that's been missing for a long time, and there was a lot of mishaps and missteps along the way. And a lot of those mishaps and missteps were a direct result of the leadership on this case, i.e. David Stivers. So David Stivers and Chris Nanos. So we have some problems with this case. So now we're asking, does the Guthrie family have grounds to sue the county, and the detectives and the sheriff's department? It is my belief that at some point along the way, they will have a claim over all of this. Because I truly do believe it's well documented. And it doesn't matter what Chris Nanos says. Chris Nanos is a pathological liar. Even if we did not want to believe the FBI, which there are some people in my chat that just don't like the FBI. They're the anti, and I don't want to be disrespectful or anything, but they're the anti, we don't want law, defund police people. We do have some of those people because we're in true crime. And at the end of the day, this affects all of us. So we have to understand that we are all in the same boat, and there are certain degrees of differences in the way we think. But at the end of the day, this is a dominant Democrat area. And so they're going to be holding their people accountable, but nobody's really holding the sheriff accountable for all of these missteps, or even David Stivers in this case. At some point, all of this extra insult to injury, him constantly saying her mother is alive when everybody knows her mother is dead. You got to remember that hope that was given to Gabby Petito's family when they knew different, right? Because Brian Laundrie's family knew he murdered Gabby, yet they're giving her family hope that she's still alive and could come home safely, knowing that that was a complete, utter lie. That was one of the contentious facts of the Gabby Petito case in the civil suit, that they were suing the Laundrie parents. They ended up settling that case, but that was a contentious. They were able to get through. They were able to take this to trial because of that, because somebody is giving them false hope. And, would that be one of the claims here, this intentional infliction of emotional distress, be a claim that they would have and could bring against this department? I believe it is. I believe it absolutely is. But let's read this article. This article is coming out. It says, does the Guthrie family have grounds to sue Pima County over the alleged investigation mishaps? And this is going to be an interesting article. The Guthrie kidnapping case, now beyond the 6-month mark, has seemingly made very little progress. And I think that is what has been denoted throughout this, and what has upset not only the public, but some of the law enforcement partners, right? And it's because of the leadership, somebody not listening, somebody thinking they are the ones that have all the answers. AZ Sunshine, it's nice to see you. Good morning. Enrique, good morning. Come in. Bella B, it's nice to see you, loves. Come on in. Come on in. Guthrie, the mother of today's show co-host Savannah Guthrie, was taken from her Tucson home in the early morning hours of February 1st and is now presumed dead. Yes, 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 yes. Finally, some accurate reporting. Finally, some accurate reporting. Thank you, the Hollywood Reporter. We appreciate this. We truly do appreciate this, because I got to tell you, there's nothing more annoying, especially to people that are following a case, and we know, okay? This is not something that we think. This is not something that's emotional that we feel. This is something that we know. We understand that this lady could not survive without medication. She needed medication to thin her blood. Her blood was too thick. It coagulated in her body. It would coagulate around her pacemaker. It would cause a lot of problems. She would have clots and other types of things. Even if she didn't have a clotting issue before she was on the blood thinner, whenever you stop blood thinners cold turkey, it causes something to happen inside your body. Okay? Period. The police and the FBI do not have a suspect and never had a serious person of interest. Thank you. This is the most accurate reporting I have seen, right? Never had a serious person of interest. They have not. The shocking lack of answers does not appear to be for a lack of resources. Rather, it highlights perceived investigative missteps along the way. The Guthrie family has worked closely with the local and federal enforcement since Nancy's disappearance and have publicly expressed gratitude for the investigative efforts. No one would blame them, however, for privately feeling frustrated over the complete deficiency of leads. At this point, the Guthrie family mostly just wanted their mom's body back. But after last week's Wall Street Journal story highlighting 6 months of failures within the Pima County Sheriff's Department, the family might soon want to pound the flesh, and I think it took Seth 2 years, almost 2.5 years, to finally have enough of the BS before he was done with all the incompetence. Mark Gregus, an attorney of the Star, to the Stars, Michael Jackson, Chris Brown, Todd Peterson, would sue to get it. Then again, he pretty much always down to taking a big legal swing. Garagos, am I saying that right? Garagos told the Hollywood Reporter that it wouldn't surprise me in the least if the Guthrie family ultimately sued Pima County, and he believes they'd have a case. Now, there are a lot of people that are out there that say, like, for example, Seth Rogers has no case. I heard an FBI agent say that, and a retired FBI agent imply that, or maybe even outright said that. I can't remember exactly how the conversation went, but I will tell you that law enforcement are not attorneys. And I can tell you there are more times than not, especially me. I've worked with law firms, and I can tell you can just about sue anybody for anything. Okay? So this idea that you cannot sue these people, they have a duty. Okay? We, the people, give law enforcement broad authority. We give them the ability to go on people's private property, to take people's freedoms away from them. And yeah, they know a little bit about criminal code. And the higher up in law enforcement you get, the more you're required to be more expert in those codes. But when it comes to the law, I can tell you the last person I'm getting legal advice from is anybody in law enforcement, because I can tell you they make mistakes every day that keep lawyers rich. Okay? And at the end of the day, Seth's case is pretty strong. Just like if the Guthrie family brought a case against Pima County, it would be very strong. So maybe Just maybe. But I mean, in the same sense as I'm saying this, I can be just the opposite, because I've had investigative roles in the law firms that I've worked. So we need to investigate information on cases. And so we would be assigned that investigation work. So again, in law firms, we wear two hats. You wear a hat of doing pleadings and paperwork, but you also wear this investigative hat too, because you have to investigate the claims, especially if you're working for a defendant instead of a plaintiff. You have to investigate. And even when you're working for a plaintiff, guess what? You're still monitoring and investigating the defendant. So no matter how you look at this, people in the law have a double hat. They have to have an investigative hat and a legal knowledge hat. People in law, they have to have criminal code and understand where to find their laws so they can arrest people if they're, because sometimes they arrest people and say, what am I going to arrest them for? Because they don't like them. I've seen that before too. It's happened to me. I was in my 20s. I said some words to an officer, a female officer, that I probably shouldn't have said. And although I got out of that thing because I didn't do anything wrong, I still had to go for a night. And guess what? In my 20s, I still didn't learn a lesson. The next officer I saw that made me angry, boy, I had to tell them about themselves too. Didn't quite work out for me that time either. So I'm just saying, not playing. We're not talking about it. There is, of course, the question of why the Guthries would want to put themselves through such a lawsuit, even a winnable one. After all, Savannah is a very rich woman. The family doesn't need the money. If anything, after this ordeal, they need privacy. I agree with that, but some people, it's a principle issue. Like, how dare you do that? It's not. I mean, you got to go after people for money, because if you went out after them for $1, it doesn't have the same punch. People don't learn a lesson. When you're dealing with corrupt communities, corrupt counties and stuff like that, exposing that with a whopper, there's nothing that can deny. Like, what it forces the media to write about it, right? Because the media usually partners with the corrupted politicians to hide the corruption. And that's what you got out in Pima County. And you can absolutely tell, because I tried to find the article about David Stivers fouling up the other homicide case where a man walked. The murder suspect got a free pass because of the leadership of Dave Stivers. The same guy that Chris assigned to the Guthrie case. Yeah, that guy. Right? So I'm trying to find out what happened in that case. Guess what? The media covered it up. They didn't even run the story. So they even put their freaking residents in even more jeopardy, because they won't even tell them when they have a bad cop. That's the courtesy of your local media out there, by the way. I have no respect. This is the kind of crap that we have no respect for. They want to talk about our language and how unprofessional social media content creators are. Well, at least we ain't lying to. Oh, is that why we're so unprofessional? Because we refuse to lie to our audience? Is that what the difference between professional journalism and unprofessional journalism is whether you have the appetite to lie to your audience? Well, I guess I'll forever be unprofessional based on those qualifications. So does she have a case? She does. I think she might, but who knows? I know there's more lawsuits coming. If she doesn't sue the county for multi-million, there might be more coming. I don't know if they're going to be multi-million-dollar lawsuits, but it seems like this sheriff is nickel and diamond this community to slap death. They're going to have a lot of lawsuits to pay for. And every lawsuit that comes, they got attorney fees for that county that has to be paid. Yeah, they got attorneys for the county, but they still charge. They're still charging. So one thing that we've learned is that the linguistics of the letters, everybody is focusing on these ransom letters. Were they authored by the people that truly did take, this lady? I don't believe they are. I mean, heck, I believe that they were, Chat GPT letters until somebody said the mistakes that are in these letters Chat GPT wouldn't make. So, one of two things happened. Either they were authentically written by a human being, or they were written by Chat GPT, and an authentic human being realized that the Chat GPT would probably be noticeable and went in there and altered some of the words to make them mistakes, like receive, spelling it wrong, the I and the E reversed, spelt correctly in one, but spelt incorrectly in the other. And I'm like, whenever you're drafting anything, anytime I draft anything, I get squiggly lines. If I make a mistake, I get squiggly lines. Even when I spell everything correctly, I'll get a blue squiggly line, and it tells me that I forgot to put a comma or a dash or something somewhere. It won't tell me what it is, but it will show me that something's missing. And then, of course, the red squiggly lines tells me that the word is incorrect altogether. It's misspelled. So I'm just trying to figure out how somebody can send out a note without a squiggly line. You always get squiggly line. How many of you guys are familiar with the squiggly line? I'm familiar with the squiggly line. If you don't know what I'm talking about, what is Betty talking about this stupid squiggly line? Has she lost her damn marbles? No, I have not. The squiggly line is when you write on the computer and you misspell anything, and it puts a little squiggly line under the word. And the squiggly line changes colors. So it goes from like red or blue. Like mine on my computer are either red or blue. The blue tells me it's a grammatical error, not a spelling error, but the red tells me it's a spelling error, not a grammatical error. So how can somebody not see the squiggly line? Squiggly line. I don't know why the last time I said that it made me think of Squidward. SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob SquarePants. Okay, I'm done. It's been a long time since I watched SpongeBob. So let's get back past this. We know that the linguistics are evidence. And I remember what I liked about this one. It agreed with me. I love it when articles agree with me. 6 months after Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, was abducted from her Tucson home in Pima County, the Pima County Sheriff's Department has finally released the full text the full text of 2 emails associated with the crime, sometimes referring to them as the ransom notes. Their release enables specialists and analysts to analysis of language evidence, forensic linguistics, to analyze the exact language of the 2 email communications within minute detail. Communication in minute detail, whatever that means. People linguistic usage give us clues to their identity because no 2 people's writing styles are exactly alike. Okay, great. So we know that. Each individual has their unique patterns and choices. The Guthrie linguistic analysis alone won't be necessary to help to determine whether the author of the email is Miss Nancy Guthrie's abductor or prankster or opportunist looking to cash in, or whether the abduction really was kidnapping for money or not. Regardless, the author or authors must be identified so the case can eventually be solved. And then where was it that they agreed with me? At the end of the day, they also believe the ransom notes are not true, is the basically. People in linguistics usually any communications involving choice, formal, informal wording, blah blah blah. We use both types of feature, blah 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 blah. More linguistic clues. Anyways, I've already read that. So we'll get over here. Renowned criminal psychologist who helped convince O.J. Simpson to surrender to authorities said he believes Nancy Guthrie's disappearance was likely a burglary gone wrong. Now, this is circling back. If you guys remember, at the very beginning of this case, we were all looking at this case and we were like, burglary gone wrong. And we didn't believe it was a burglary gone wrong. I didn't believe it was a burglary gone wrong. As a matter of fact, I dismissed burglary gone wrong. It actually circled back for this show when we started looking at January 11th. As you guys know, I keep saying I believe January 11th is it's more important in this case almost than February 1st, because I truly believe January 11th was the botched burglary. If this is a botched burglary, January 11th was it. But we have a walkie-talkie in the assailant's pocket, and I truly believe it's a walkie-talkie, which leads me to believe that there is multiple people here. Now, is the multiple people a man and a woman? Is the multiple people, I don't know. We're going to get into some speculative information about Luke here in just a minute, and that might actually put the bullseye back on him. Like, I'm trying to back the bullseye off, and the bullseye for Luke Daley just keeps coming back. And I'm not sure exactly why. Like, in my gut, I feel like Luke Daley's not the right person. But every time I look at something, it starts bringing me back to Luke Daley again. And this 2025 crime with Kayla Day, it's a shocker. I don't think I took into consideration how serious the charges are. They're very serious. Could this explain why we're dealing with what we're dealing with? This happened back in 2025. But let's get through this. We're gonna circle around. This lady here agrees with most of the stuff that I believe to be true. A renowned criminal psychologist who helped convince O.J. Simpson to surrender to authorities say he believes Nancy Guthrie's disappearance was likely a burglary gone wrong. Unfortunately, I think this case is a simple matter of a burglary gone wrong than an attempted cover up things. Forensic psychologist Chris Mahandi told Fox Digital. So this is interesting, and we're going to have a few articles in, and they're kind of drafted a little differently from one article to another that I think is interesting. The experts said the creepy doorbell camera footage that saw a masked man at the 84-year-old's front door on the night of the abduction suggests that the mother of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie was the victim of a burglary in her home rather than a sophisticated kidnapping plot. I think this is where I'm going to disagree with him slightly. He's taking this as a one-time situation, but we all know that this man has been to this house multiple times. I think that changes things slightly. I do. And he's not addressing those multiple visits in this. Mohandi said it's appropriate for law enforcement to investigate any leads into finding out the fate of the matriarch's disappearance. However, he said it's still doubtful that the 2 ransom notes letters sent to the family, which recently released by Pima County Sheriff in full, are in any way related to those who took her from her home in February. So another person that doesn't believe, that may believe that this was authored by somebody, but doesn't believe the people that authored are the people that took her. And that was one of my statements as well. The famed forensic psychologist who has described how he appealed to former NFL star turned murderer Simpson's ego to surrender to cops on June 17, 1994, pointed out issues in the first ransom note, saying that despite its referencing the crime scene, including Guthrie's, it says Apple Watch, but in the ransom note it said smartwatch, and a broken floodlight, it should be treated skeptically. I don't make much of these 2 details, Mahandi said. They seem to be details that inadvertently could have gotten to somebody, and we've all believed that. And so that's not enough for me to say that this is something only the killer would know. And that has been my point this whole time. We were told that these notes referenced what this lady was wearing. I have not seen anything of this lady wearing except that Apple Watch. And it was referenced as a smartwatch, not an Apple Watch. I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying. It was how it was referenced is how it was referenced. There's nothing I can do about how it was referenced. But they referenced it as smartwatch, not an Apple Watch. When I hear smartwatch, I think Android product. When I hear Apple Watch, guess what? I think of Apple products. Smartwatch, Android, Apple, Apple. And if this person actually saw that watch, I would think that they would know the difference between an Apple Watch and a smartwatch. They do look fairly similar, but most people know Apple from anything else. Mahadi pointed out the inconsistent way the writer uses pronouns we and I, the declaration of it as a ransom note, and the decision to send it to a news outlet. There are a lot of things wrong with the ransom note, and it raises a lot of questions for me of veracity, he said. And I think that's where we're all at. And we go over to the TV Insider. And according to TV Insider, they have a whole other explanation. I mean, not explanation. They appropriately reference this psychologist. Because again, this, like I said, we have several different words and articles from this. And I do it so I can get an overall feel of how a lot of different minds think, because they write how they think. So, not thinking that these ransom notes are legitimate to the point that he believes that they're referencing or were written by the person that abducted her. So for me, it sounds like he's basically telling the world he does believe that these people are opportunistic people. So we have a renowned profiler saying that this case is a burglary gone wrong. Now, we haven't heard a whole lot about Nancy's friends. So finding this article, and it was, of all things, from Irish Star, which is not really a publication here in the United States, or a lot of people in the United States read. But the Irish Star had interviewed a friend of Nancy Guthrie. I think this is the first article I've found where Nancy Guthrie's friend has spoken about how they feel about this case. And I will caution you, the family has gotten to these friends, okay? The family has put the fear of God into people even remotely speaking about Miss Guthrie. This is so bizarre and so weird. Like this friend here wouldn't even allow this article to author their name in this article. They're just referenced throughout this article as the friend. So that tells me that the friends have a lot boiling over in their body. You know, they feel some type of way about this, and they're being prevented from being able to express their grief for their friend. And I think that's wrong. I think that is so, so, so wrong. And I feel so bad for all of Miss Nancy Guthrie's friends. I think we forget about her friends that loved her, that, you know, were just as much involved in her life as she was in theirs, you know, book clubs and mahjong. You know, they really enjoyed their time with this lady. This is what they looked forward to week after week, and all of that just abruptly came to an end, and they don't know what happened to their friend. And I think we forget that because we're so focused on the family. But let's face it, the family were living their own lives. They didn't spend near as much time with Miss Nancy Guthrie as, say, maybe her friends did, right? So her friends probably are feeling, I mean, not that her family, don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say here. You know, of course, Nancy's family is feeling pain of her loss, but I think that their standing in society kind of overshadows Miss Guthrie's real friends, right? Because they're very private people. They're not used to all this glitz and glamour. They're not used to being part of the spotlight. You know, they're not used to all of this stuff. So hearing a little from one of their friends and really feeling their pain, I think for the first time I've stopped and thought about, oh my gosh, her friends, her poor friends. You know, her poor friends that are gotta probably be sickened by this. You know, we're so worried about Annie and Tommaso and Cameron and Savannah that we're not even thinking about our poor little friends. I think possible Nancy confided in friends. But yeah. Well, of course. I mean, think about us. I mean, do we confide in our family more than we confide? I could tell you my best friend knows where the bodies are buried. The proverbial bodies. I don't need now. We're going to have they're going to be calling, there's bodies. Where's the field? You know what? All I got to say to those hate channels, if there really was a body with fields, nobody would even know your name. I'm just saying. Okay, so before you pick up the phone and start stirring up some stuff that doesn't need to be stirred up, just remember that. If there really was something and it wasn't hyperbole, you wouldn't even be here to make the call. I'm just saying. So let's not get it twisted. Just saying. I mean, I'm just saying. You know what they were about to say. They were about to say, oh my God, Betty's got a field of bodies. It must be Mexico behind her house. If it really was, I'm just saying, we would be a much safer environment. That's all I'm saying. But, you know, that would be illegal. And we don't break the law around here on the Bullhorn Betty channel, okay? We kind of like the cops. I know. You better be glad you all look good in the uniform, okay? That's all I'm saying. Because we might be a little different on this show with all the cops and first responders if you guys didn't look so good in those uniforms. I'm just saying. We're very appreciative. We're very appreciative of our first responders. We're more appreciative of your uniform, okay? I'm just saying. I don't think I'm gonna have anybody complaining up in the chat this morning. I'm just saying. Push button. Push button. We certainly appreciate all of your help. We definitely first responders over here. No, I'm just joking. Well, I'm not joking, but I mean, I am kind of making it more of a, instead of it, I'm gonna shut up. Okay, so anyways, let's get back to the seriousness of the case of Miss Savannah Guthrie, Nancy Guthrie. So it is quite interesting that we do have a friend, and I did get a chance to read this, and it broke my heart, and that's when I realized the friend has been silenced. Like she can't even release her name. So here's what it says. It says, a friend of Nancy Guthrie says that uncertainty surrounding her disappearance has become increasingly painful, expressing sadness and concern as investigators continue to pursue tips months after she vanished. The friend, who Guthrie personally described, who knew Guthrie personally, described the case as emotionally difficult to follow and said that the lack of clear resolution has eroded hope that authorities will be able to explain what happened. Wow. Can you imagine being a friend and saying this out loud? You having to come to terms that you may never know what happened to your loving friend. I mean, I don't like. I try to put myself in these positions. You know, I have a best friend. You know, I have a ride or die. Like, you know, I truly believe if shit hit the fan, I know who to call. Right? Will the problem be resolved? You know, lawfully? I don't know. I just know I got a number to call. Okay. And I try to put, you know, myself in everybody's position. How would I feel if like tomorrow I woke up and this story was my best friend? You know, how would I feel? And I would be angry. I would have hopelessness, helplessness. Watching all of this unfold, you know, I don't know how I could not feel sorrow seeing what this case is and what it's turned out to be. And every single resource is meant to help her has turned into a weapon politically. it just, it's got to be so angering, but hurtful, hurtful, hurtful. The friend's concern comes as investigators examine information generated by the public release of 2 purported ransom notes. I was a friend of Nancy's, and watching this case drag on without answers has been heartbreaking. At this point, I've lost almost all hope that there will be a good outcome, the friend told the Mirror US. They said it feels like the case is completely dead. So much time has passed. It's devastating to think that someone I knew, I cared about, could disappear without her family and friends getting the answers they deserve. This is from the friend. Can you imagine how the family feels? The Pima County Sheriff's Office said investigators received somewhat more information after releasing the complete contents of the notes July 31st. Nancy Guthrie's task force investigators have seen a slight increase in tips since the 2 ransom notes were released last week. Sheriff's Office Public Information Officer Angelica Carrillo told Fox News all tips have been followed up on. All tips have been followed up on. Authorities have not established publicly that the notes are genuine. They are reportedly sent on February 2nd and February 6th. Hello, Savannah. The first reads, "We have your mother." I'm not going to go through the details of the letter. This story has the smartwatch referenced has drawn particular attention because, according to the timeline cited by authorities, that detail was included in a message before the information about the watch became widely known. But it doesn't mean it wasn't known. So we have to remember that. Based on that note, there's no way in hell, in all fairness, that I would have thought that that was legitimate based on that. Okay, guys. So now we're getting back. Thank you. Thank you. So now that we have a complete update on all of the updated information in our first segment of today's show, the second segment is going to be why you're here. It's this 2025 case related to Luke Daley. Now, Luke Daley, he's come under scrutiny in the Nancy Guthrie case when we watched law enforcement execute a search warrant and an impound warrant. So they went in there, they searched his home, they detained his mother, they detained another individual, which we've never identified that other individual. There was another male present at that home, and it was not his brother. It was reported that it was his brother. I can assure you, it does not sound like it was his brother. Now, was there another brother? Maybe there's a third brother. I don't know. We need to look into that angle a little bit more. But his brother Matthew lives in Phoenix. Okay? So it wasn't his brother Matthew. Who was in that house with his mother? I don't know. Could it have been his mother's boyfriend? Might have been. Might have been. Maybe that explains it. It was mom, her boyfriend, and then her son that lives with her. Luke was ultimately pulled over up by Culver's, where they detained him. They took his fingerprints. I watched them take the fingerprints from what we were watching out there. We knew he had a face full of hair. He had a mustache, a goatee. He had a face full of hair. Thick, black hair. This was all filled in. This was all thick. Thick. Okay? Not like this. It was thick. Thick and bushy. And that's important because he changed his appearance. This man had some serious problems. Serious problems. Okay? Everybody knows serious substances like Coca-Cola, math with an E, H, right? All of those are serious. But the one that is problematic for me is always the H. It's always the H, because that I have watched people literally struggle. That, I've seen people pull themselves up by their bootstraps and kick habits, the other habits. But the one that is the hardest that I've seen in my history of the walk that I've had has always been that H. Seeing people just, it has this hold on them. It has this hold on them. This is what was in their car. This was what was in their car. They had a lot of stuff in their car, but it's the H that has me the most concerned. It's the fact that they had trafficking levels and the cops took it. So you're talking about somebody that owed a lot of money to somebody, that owed something to somebody. And that was all taken. And we don't know what kind of repercussions that had or whose those belonged to or whether they were paid in full. But the likes of these two people, Kayla and Luke, I would have to think that these were not purchased, that these were fronted and probably collecting to pay. You know, that's kind of how it worked back in my day, you know. You went to your guy gave you your package, you brought back the money from your package, whatever over and above the amount that was assessed, you keep the difference. That's how it kind of worked, right? So is that the kind of dynamic they had out here? I don't know. But I thought it was very important and newsworthy to find out what truly happened in this case. So this is very concerning. And I don't think, you know, we're hearing drug paraphernalia. This goes beyond drug paraphernalia, folks. This goes well beyond drug paraphernalia. We have firearms in the car. We have... I think it's important for me to go ahead and just read everything. We're going to read everything verbatim. There's no misconceptions about anything. So the interim complaint, okay, this was June 3rd, 2025. The date of this complaint is May 5th. When did this happen? This happened on, it looks like this happened on May 15th. So May 15th, 2025, Luke Daley was pulled over by law enforcement. So this is what the probable cause affidavit says. We're going to go through all of this for you. Nobody is going to leave this place. These are accurate documentations from the court. Again, a big shout out, please, if you want your name. I screwed up with Pretty Little Clues. I don't mean to do this, but I do it all the time. I don't know who sent this to me. Okay, I know who's on the front receipt. I know what that name is, but I don't know what your stage name is. So I don't know who to thank for this information. But I do want to shout out, if you want to be publicly known, put your name in the chat or send me an email like Pretty Little Clues did, so I know who you are. What had happened is I saved this and I can't find the email. So I have no idea who sent this to me. Okay, so I apologize. It's something I do because this came to me a couple days ago. So I had set it in the or a day or so ago, I had set it into the file and I didn't save the email. So I apologize. Please, please, please reach out to me so I know who to thank personally for this information. I'm absolutely certain I thanked you. I thanked you in your email, but I don't know who I thanked. I go through so many emails, so please send me an email so I can publicly give you accolades. Again, I apologize for not doing it. It's not my intention. I just get so busy, and this is my shortcomings right here. Okay, so this is what we have. This happened in Marana Police Department. Marana Police Department. So let's find out where Marana. Where is Marana? Marana, Arizona. Okay. Marana, Arizona is a fast-growing town located in the Sonoran Desert. Very interesting. It mostly lies in Pima County, just northwest of Tucson, with a small part of Pinal County. It sits along the Interstate 10, about 25 miles northwest of downtown Tucson, 85 miles south of Phoenix, and you can check official updates for local resources through the town of Marana official website. Very interesting, very interesting. We want to make sure, oh, hey, Alien, it's nice to see you. We want to make sure that we're keeping the information of Marana, because this is a known area to this man. So could this be, if it is Luke, again, I want to put the caveat. Let me go ahead and put my legal disclaimers on this show right now so we can keep ourselves in the good graces of the United States court systems. This case, everything in this show is an opinion. You guys can please do your own fact checking. I do fact check stuff. You guys see the receipts yourself. But again, I want to make sure that you guys understand I am not accusing Luke Daley or anybody of any crimes against Nancy Guthrie. We're pulling information from public resources. This is not me pointing the finger at Luke. That law enforcement did on Friday the 13th in February, when they did this massive and very public raid of his home and his person. So I'm not the one that's pointing the finger at him. Law enforcement is pointing the finger at him. Law enforcement has doubled down that they have not cleared any one of them, either Luke or Carlos. And so we're just looking at Luke because Luke keeps coming up. He has a hurt hand. He has some things going on with him. He was in a wreck on January 28th. The person outside of the house on January 11th did not have a hurt hand. The person at the door on February 1st had a hurt hand. We found out that Luke Daley hurt his hand most likely from a airbag in his car when he was driving and got into a wreck. He was at fault in the wreck. The wreck happened on January 28th, just days before somebody broke in and took Miss Nancy Guthrie out of her home, never to be seen again. Now, could this have something to do with him having to find money to pay back a dealer because he lost all of this massive amount of money worth of substances with Kayla? Now, it could be possible. Something is going on here, and there are some major crimes where they're having to pay attorneys. They're going to have to pay their dealer. There's a lot of fees that are coming up that are needing to be had when it comes to Luke Daley and Kayla Day, because they were both arrested together. And this case here is mind-blowing, the amount of substances inside of the vehicle. Now, where am I? There I am, right there. So this is what it says. It says the undersigned, having appeared personally, this is where we are right here if you're wanting to follow on the camera. The undersigned, having appeared personally, being duly sworn, does upon information and belief accuse Luke Daley. His birthday is March 6, 1989. It's in the official report. Of the crimes of narcotic sales, trafficking amount. So he's been accused of narcotic drug sales, which is a felony in the second degree. Weapons misconduct, firearm during a drug offense, felony in the fourth degree. I think that's what an F4 means. I could be reading these F2s and F4s wrong, okay? So maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I should say something like a weapons misconduct, prohibited possessor, possession of drug paraphernalia. The lowest man on the totem pole in these whole charges is this drug paraphernalia. This happened on May 15, 2025. Now, the time of the offense happened at 11:57, so just before noon, and it happened on North La Chula Boulevard. North La Chula, if I'm pronouncing it right. Here's what it states here. Officers were conducting surveillance, referenced in an unrelated matter, and observed a vehicle driven by Luke Daley in the area. He was identified based on previous photographs. So they've been watching this. They were doing a sting. So previous photographs, indicators of illegal drug transactions were observed. Mr. Daley and the passenger exited the vehicle and entered 7635 North La Chula Boulevard, Walmart. So this is a Walmart locations. Officers approached the vehicle and, let's keep going, let's go down. Is this the right one? Oops. Yes, this is the next one. So observed a used syringe with residue on the passenger floor. So now you know what type of monkeying stuff that Luke and his friend were involved in. This is very, very serious. Not something you just shake overnight. Anybody that has a clue about substance and substance abuse knows that this right here is very hard to kick. Mr. Daley and the passenger were detained. The keys to the vehicle were in his possession. A search of the vehicle located a black magnet box with additional H paraphernalia and baggies with small amounts of brown tar-like substances consistent with H. On the passenger seat, a black and red duffel bag in the passenger seat seat held a 9mm AR pistol and loaded magazine. So now we know what? That Luke Daley, and I had a list. Somebody sent me a list. I can't find that either. But Luke Daley had access to firearms. So we had in the image that we see of the front porch guy, we see him have a revolver holster for a semi-automatic pistol. The holster did not match the pistol he had brought with him. But very interesting enough that he has access to multiple firearms. And how do we know? Because in another case, his mother, Mary, sent a request to get that stuff back, to get all these firearms back. So there has been a request for evidence to be turned back over to her. And there were multiple different firearms listed on this list. I will find it if we have time after this show, because we're going to get into the Sharp interview, which is going to take us even further into today's show. But when we get into the Sharp interview, I'll start looking for that list of firearms and other evidence that Mary went and requested to have returned back to her. So he did have access to multiple handguns. Okay? So this is very interesting. This is another mark, because we didn't know if he had access to firearms. Now we know he has access to firearms, and he was caught with a firearm amongst other substances. I just emailed you. Okay, let's see what you got. Thank you, Pretty Little Clues. Let me see what we got here. I had Google Docs. Maybe I didn't. I must have deleted it. Give me a second. I got to download Google Docs. So let me read this while this is getting downloaded. So now we know about the 9mm AR pistol in a loaded magazine. Multiple empty baggies were located in a purse on the passenger floor, and the items were positioned in a manner unlikely to have allowed a passenger to sit on top of them. A search of the passenger located a large quantity of round pills, 17 Suboxone strips, a large quantity of U.S. currency. Post Miranda, the passenger advised that the firearm belonged to Daley and stated he likely put it on the seat after she exited the vehicle. Post Miranda, Mr. Daley confirmed that he had been driving the vehicle and was with the female for approximately 2 days. So they had been partying for 2 days. He advised he had recently been convicted of a felony case, and records check confirmed that he is prohibited from having a firearm. So now he has access to firearms. He's a felon. He's not supposed to have a firearm on his possession. Now, are you guys ready? Are you guys sitting down for this? Are you guys sitting down? Raise your hand in chat. Put pink hands in your chat if you guys are sitting down. If you guys are sitting down, put pink hands in the chat. We need you all sitting down because we're about to shock the crap out of you. Because while we're all thinking that this case is just a paraphernalia case, I'm about to blow your freaking mind. This is not a paraphernalia case. This is a very, very serious case that's going to cost a lot of money to get somebody out of. So everybody, we're waiting for it. Okay, welcome. Welcome, Kelly. Pink hands, pink hands, pink hands. We're ready. We are ready. I can't. I'm cooking an egg sandwich. LOL. So you had time to write that, but not find a pink hand. Okay, we believe you, tulips. Okay, guys. Here it comes. Here it comes. We had pills that were weighed a total of 104 grams without packaging. 104 grams. This is equivalent to approximately 1,000 pills. They had 1,000 pills. 1,000 pills. Greater than the amount of typically possessed for personal use based on the investigation. The officer determined Mr. Daley and the passenger were likely acting in conjunction to distribute illegal drugs. So they had H on them. They had M30 pills on them, over 1,000. They had 17 Suboxone strips. They had a lot of trafficking size amounts of substances in their vehicle. So now we get over to Kayla Day, which has just a slight bit more information. It looks like this one is from 3/19. The other one said 5/15. This says on 3/19/2025, deputies responded to 2300 West Innan Road, referencing a female in a white passenger car that was passed out in the driver's seat. Deputies made contact with the driver, who identified herself verbally as Kayla Noel Day. Deputies saw in plain view drug paraphernalia and asked Kayla to step out of the vehicle, which she did consensually. Once Kayla stepped out, deputies observed her slurred speech and confusion. Kayla consented to standard field sobriety test. Once Kayla was placed under arrest, deputies conducted a search of the vehicle due to having seen drug paraphernalia in plain view. Conducting a search warrant had a large amount of blue M30 stamped on them. So this happened 2 months before they were ultimately arrested together. White crystalline suspect and black tar substance, needles full of black substance, tar substance similar to black tar substance, a spoon, burnt residue, pipes, and burnt residue. This one had 19.7 grams of meth and 53.6 grams of M30 pills. That was 2 months before. 2 months before. So here are the charges. Possession of dangerous drugs, possession of narcotics drugs, possession of narcotics drugs, possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of a deadly weapon during the commission of a felony, possession of a deadly weapon by a prohibited person, possession of narcotics drugs, possession of narcotics drugs for sale, and possession of drug paraphernalia. That's her charges. And I still haven't seen his charges yet outside of that affidavit. This is all for Kayla. And defendant not present in custody, refuses transport. So she refused to show up for her first appearance. And here is this the May 15th? And then this is the charges for May 15th. So, and the charges are narcotic sales, weapons misconduct, drug paraphernalia, and narcotics possession. And that's the same as Luke Daley. So this idea that this is Oh, here's other information you didn't have. So this is equivalent to 1,000 pills greater than the typical amount used by a person. All drug-related items were identified through the officer's training and experience. The money was counted and totaled $1,366 in assorted nominations. Based on investigation, officers determined Miss Day and the driver were likely acting in conjunction to distribute illegal drugs. So they were dealers. They were dealers and users. But the type, you're not hanging out with somebody injecting stuff in their arm unless you're doing the same stuff. Okay? He wrecked the car. He got a range. Yeah, and he's on substances. These types of substances, he ain't shaken without major intervention. So that means he still has all these problems. These types of addictions don't go away because you want them to. So that means this man is still. So how is he able to drive around in that nice Range Rover? What is he truly doing? How much money is a case like this truly going to cost him? Where was he planning on getting all this money from? He needs money to get through this case. This is a serious case. He's a felon, but now he's about to be hit with another felony for distribution. Let's go back up to it's not going to move that quickly. Let's move this right back up. I think right here. One more. Right here. So we've got, Luke Daley right here. This is all his. He's got narcotic sales. And possession of a firearm by a felon. So, and we have a list. Let me pull this back. Let me see if I can find that stupid list. Somebody sent it to me. I don't even know how it was sent. I remember seeing it though, but I don't remember how it was sent. When it was sent, I remember seeing it. Oh, that's right. I was going to get back to Justine. Hold on. Oh, it was this. Okay, so it was you guys. Yes. So when was this? That's right. Okay, so I don't know when this was. So this was from May 2025. So we have a few. So this is from 2025. Here's the list of items. We had a 2010 Mazda 6, a Glock 26 40 caliber pistol, a Smith & Wesson 9mm pistol, 2 9mm firearm magazines, a 40 caliber firearm magazine, 29mm rounds of ammunition, firearm holster, firearm grip, ballistic carrier with plate, rifle plate with carrier, and a DC plug in red and blue strobe light. And they redacted the name and just show Mary. Mary was the claimant. To these items. So she was wanting her a DC plug, red and blue strobe light. Were they trying to act like they were cops? Is that truly what was in here? Red and blue strobe light. Oh my gosh. Property. And this isn't true. So she was the claimant of these properties. It looked like somebody was trying to act like they were a cop. That they were a cop. Wow. But I can't see what case this is for. That's the only problem. I see the photo, but I don't know what case this is referenced to. But very, very interesting. But thank you. That was the list I was looking for. Thank you. That came from Pretty Little Clues. Thank you. Pretty Little Clues sent that over. So he had access to firearms. He had access to, holsters. But I still don't believe that holster that's referenced here is the one that was observed. But we know he has access to those firearms. And they're pistols. They're pistols. They're not revolvers. They're pistols. Linda says Kayla is in prison allegedly. Hopefully. What's his bond amount? I don't even know. I'm surprised yes, and Mary is his mother. Yes, I'm familiar with that. What's his bond amount? I don't know. This is Arizona. Like, why is a drug dealer with these types of drugs even bondable? Like, why isn't their bond so high? I mean, you've got a major drug and homelessness population issue in your community. You would think that they would be stronger on these issues in their community until they get it under control. But apparently you can go and inject yourself with all this stuff, and they're just like, okay, well, we want your money, so we're going to put you in the system, but you can go back out there and party. We'll see you when you come back to court. Bring your checkbook. That's all we care about. We don't really care about you. We just care about your money. Like, I don't understand this. I don't understand this. People on these types of drugs commit crimes. They commit burglaries. They commit robberies, larcenies, petty thefts, everything that they can do. Yeah, it sure sounds like they were trying to impersonate the police. Now, again, I've got to find out, where this originated. Did you guys pull this, or did somebody send this to you, Pretty Little Clues? Do you know what case this is for? That would be interesting. I'd like to know what case. But either way, very interesting information. Very interesting information.
If I could be 12 beers deep at work, I'd be unstoppable.
Ricky and the Boss. Okay. So now we're... Lila, knock it off. All right, so let's get back to where we are. So we're at that point. You guys now know that we got trafficking amounts. This is not some minor charge. These are some serious charges that he's going to go to jail for, probably prison, if he doesn't get a good attorney. And good attorneys cost a lot of money. So is this why he needs money? Did he target Miss Guthrie because he thought she had money? Did he think that this was going to be his free get out of jail free card? There's a lot of stuff going on in this young man's life. And we've been looking at him because law enforcement brought us to his front door. But at the end of the day, when we look at this case, there are some significant issues stacking up against Luke Daley. And Luke Daley being the only one that changed his appearance. And still, all these weeks later, he's also one that's not suing Pima County Sheriff's Department. We got Carlos suing them. Why isn't Luke suing them? It seems to me that Luke had the worst of it as opposed between Luke and Carlos. Yet Carlos is saying that I haven't heard hardly anybody talk about Carlos, in all fairness, on these streets. But there's been a lot of people talking about Luke. But Luke isn't suing the Pima County Sheriff's Office. Why isn't Luke suing the Pima County Sheriff? He needs money. He needs attorney fees. He's about to go to prison. He's a felon that was just caught with a firearm, a loaded firearm, a loaded magazine. What? And significant substances. And they believe that they were trafficking these substances. So, what? He has always been sus. He's feeling, yeah, he is feeling sus. He's absolutely feeling sus. But you know what? It's always been the hand for me. And I've said that on the show from the very beginning. When we took him up off the shelf, we never talked about him. Like, we talked about him when he was being raided, but that was to the extent we talked about it. We talked about him being raided. We thought freaking Chris Nanos was a dumbass. So we didn't even pay attention too much to it. Right after Carlos, we're like, okay, who's this guy, right? Another mistake, right? Well, now we're starting to see this may not be a mistake. This may not be a mistake at all, folks. There's something wrong here. Okay? it's hard for me to say this guy did it because we have such limited information. But I got to tell you, the means and opportunity are there. But what's the motive? What would be his motive? Could this 2025 case be Luke Daley's motive? He needed money. Maybe, just maybe, you got to remember this happened in May, and by November, Savannah's in his town. Maybe he was thinking, I wonder, I need money. This looks like a rich family. I bet you she's got some real valuable stuff at her house. Possibly. It's possible. Now, again, I want to put my caveat and my legal jargon on and say that this guy is presumed innocent in a court of law until he's not even been accused of the crime. Luke Daley has not been accused by any law enforcement officer, agency, or anything of being a person of interest or a suspect. Well, I mean, I would definitely think that by them kicking in his front door, they pretty much implied he's a person of interest. They may not have physically said it, but I guess we could imply that when you get your front door kicked in and your vehicle impounded by court order, I would imply that you probably are a suspect or a person of interest at minimum in the case at hand. So for me to say that he has not been named a suspect or person of interest, I feel like I'm not being truthful. I'm being partially truthful, because in all fairness, who would agree? Let me throw this out here to my audience. How many people do we have in chat right now? Wow, 646 of you. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. We definitely love the thumbs up button. So let's look at it like this. How many people, where was I going with this? How many people at least feel that there's a reason for Luke Daley to have been put under the gun, so to speak? Like, do you feel law enforcement must have had some probable cause with Luke to kick in his front door? Like, I feel like they had to have something, but what was that something? Luke Daley has access to firearms. He's a drug addict. He's a dealer. He just got busted. Over 1,000 pills. How much does 1,000 of these M30 pills go street value? Let's find out. What is the street value of 1,000 M30 pills? Woo! Woo! Street value of 1,000 M30 pills range from $500 to $30,000. So individual counterfeit M30 pills often sell on the street anywhere from $20 to $30. So with 1,000, oh my gosh. And historically up to $30+ if marketed falsely as genuine pharmaceuticals. So at $10 to $30, 1,000 would range from $10,000 to $30,000. So she had about $10,000 at the low end, $10,000 worth of pharmaceuticals on her. That's a lot of money for somebody that's booting shit in their arm. Okay? And so you took that all away, and think about it. If she's in prison, she's probably already been through detox. He hasn't been to prison. He's still out there on the streets. That means he has never been detoxed. What's sad is there are people who sit behind bars for green, natural plant. And yes, I agree with that. I covered the Summer Wells case, and the cornbread mafia was brought up, and I actually interviewed Jim Higdon that wrote the story on the cornbread mafia from his town, and he's actually been a major advocate in Kentucky for the hemp industry. He's been in Washington, D.C. fighting for hemp laws, and stuff like that. So I'm pretty familiar. I mean, I'm not an expert in the field, but I've got some familiarity. So now we're going to go over, I started the Sharp Exchange interview from the very beginning, because now we're going to take the time for the rest of the show, which is going to go into probably 3 to 4 hours today, depending on how long or how much commentary I give to the interview he gave to this high school student. We've seen this high school student since he was just a little boy doing the news, and it's hard to believe because he really asked Chris Nanos a lot of questions, and he was very, very, very good, and he kind of you can see Chris Nanos' reluctance, but I think everybody involved did a really good job, and I was really appreciative of the interviewer. I can't remember his name, something Sharp. But anyways, at the end of the day, he was very strategic, and that's what I think is very interesting, is how strategic this young journalist is in trying to ask the right questions without upsetting the sheriff, because the sheriff's an emotional guy, okay? He's a bad cop, okay? And he's overly emotional, and he gets very angry. He has anger issues, among a lot of things, and he likes to be very retaliatory, like, if you do this to me, let me show you. That's Chris Nanos. That's his mentality. That's who he is as a person, and that's very dangerous in a law enforcement position. So just a bad cop. He's been a bad cop for 40 years. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, and you can't teach a bad cop to be a good cop. Okay, so Chris is who he is. The only place for Chris is retirement. He should never run or even be a man of the badge. If he is not sheriff, he needs to retire or be fired. Okay, we don't want bad cops in Pima County. We've had our fair share of bad cops in Pima County. I think we're all over bad cops in Pima County. We want good cops, and we want good cops leading and taking care of and being, there's nothing. This is what I have no problems in communities that are safe. When I go into communities, typically it's because they've got major problems. Okay, this community has a major problem. It started out with an 84-year-old famous mom missing. Okay, and it's turned into something so much more. We've uncovered so much from that community. All of those secrets, all of those skeletons in the closets are now front and center and being talked about in Pima County. And trust me, I believe that the residents are listening. They may not have the fight to do anything about it right now, but they can definitely fight at the ballot box. And I hope that you guys do ultimately fight at the ballot box. This is Chris Nanos. This is the interview with the Sharp Exchange. We're going to be watching it. We watched a full exchange of an interview yesterday. It was very good. We need to listen to these things in their entirety, and we never quite got through the Sharp Exchange. But I'm absolutely confident that there is a lot of great information that we may have missed because this is 30 minutes, and by the time I go in here, listen to it, and start talking about it, our show is over. So I finally decided I'm just going to extend today's show and make sure that we get to watch these interviews in their entirety, especially when they come to the sheriff, because he's giving out information about the case that might be beneficial, that might help gyrate somebody that's coming across the show into something, maybe, or maybe I feel like people know they need to do the right thing. They're hesitant, or they're they don't know what the right answer is because they're loyal to the person, or just a number of things, whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend type of issue. There's just a lot of reasons why people choose to stay silent and keep the truth to themselves. Maybe it's out of fear or something like that. I can tell you it's better to tell the truth than find out the person is terrified of you knowing the truth, eliminating you, and nobody in the world knowing why or where you went. So these are the types of cases that other people disappear over. So if you have information about this case, you're in danger, period. And you're in danger. And you keep thinking if you keep it to yourself, you'll be safe. You will not. Because as soon as that person gets paranoid, they're coming after you. And you've got nobody that even knows that you know something, and now you might be wiped off the face of the earth and nobody even knows why. If somebody can kill somebody and take them off this earth, they can do that to you. Even if you think it's an accident, when somebody is in a desperate situation, they will do desperate things. You might be a target because you have knowledge. I would pick up the phone and keep yourself safe, because as the news starts tightening up, you will be collateral damage. You will be collateral damage. Let's listen to what this high school student is able to twist Mr. Nanos all up.
A problem.
I just kind of want to start out, obviously, with a generic question, and that is this Saturday marks the 6-month mark into this investigation, August the 1st. Are we any closer to figuring out kind of the main suspects here, or just getting, closer to finding out what the state of this investigation could potentially become, and how frustrating is it to, be this far into the investigation and seemingly not having the answers that you're looking for?
So that's more than one question.
He does have quite complicated questions. That's one thing I would say. Wyatt is his name. Wyatt. Wyatt needs to probably... I understand what he's doing, but he probably should not combine so many questions into one. Just a little food for thought.
So let me back you up. One, are we closer? I think every day we're closer, only because we have a lot of work ahead of us in terms of lab work, scientific work with DNA, working with not just our lab or the FBI lab, but labs across the country. All of these labs work together. They're sharing information. They're trying their best to find a way to get the science to work, to put together a variety of different pieces of DNA evidence to come up with a suspect. That process, just last week we had a trial here where an individual was convicted of a homicide. It was a gruesome homicide in a very remote area of Pima County. And in less than 24 hours, we had 3 arrests made. The case was solved, and he's been prosecuted and convicted.
Well, I'm glad within 3 hours they were able to do that with that case, but that's definitely not the case we've got before us.
But those kinds of cases are rare. I mean, we're a very large metropolitan area, and we have over 1 million people, 7th largest county.
He does, Texas.
And
he does.
This agency's team, our homicide team, works hard every day. And they were able to put together a case that quick. However, we also have what we know as our cold case unit. And cold case teams are all across the country for a reason. It's because we don't let cases just go cold and not continue to work them. The question was asked of me, is this case cold? It is not cold. We have a lot of evidence that, like I say, our scientific labs are working. There's video evidence that we continue to work with, not just labs, but also some private corporations who have graciously given their time to help look at some of the video evidence and see if we can't piece things together.
Right.
And of course, there's literally thousands of tips that come in. Certainly, they're not coming in at the rate they were initially, but we still get them. In fact, I was just on an email with someone from Ireland who had a tip.
Okay.
All of these things are sent to the Guthrie Task Force, which consists of several of my detectives and several local FBI agents. So,
several of my detectives and several of the local FBI agents. So the task force has dwindled down to a very abysmal number, which is what I had reported a little while ago, that the the task force was nothing what it once was, and nobody was reporting on it. And then so I reported on it, and I wasn't sure if the reporting was accurate, and I was hoping that maybe somebody in the mainstream might be able to tap into some of their resources. And so Ashley Banfield came out with a story kind of countering mine, and then come to find out a week later I was right and she was wrong. The task force had dwindled down to quite a significantly smaller number of agents working the Guthrie task force at this point.
Now, I get the frustration,
Right.
but it's not so much my frustration as it is the community. And I understand that the community wants to know everything. This isn't TV. This is real
Of
life.
course.
In an hour's time, there's not a commercial break and we've got it solved.
Yeah.
We continue to work this case every day, and we work it hard. And so I feel confident that it's moving along, that we'll get some resolution. But unfortunately, those things just sometimes take time.
You mentioned the cold cases unit and the amount of leads that you've been receiving and how they have slowed down a little bit from the beginning of the investigation. Sure. I want to kind of follow up on that and just ask you, I know it's hard for you to quantify that, but to what extent are you willing to say that they have slowed to a trickle? You know, they have slowed down, and has that made it perhaps harder to kind of get to a good quality lead? Or if you have fewer, does that perhaps mean they are of greater quality?
No, I think that, like any crime, you first get it, you put it out there, everybody's attentive and they're calling in and they're giving you tips. But as time goes on, those tips do shrink. The volume lessens. And I don't think it's because there's apathy or we just don't know.
People have called in all the stuff that they can, but when you don't have all of the work that law enforcement usually has, like videos from the traffic cameras, other businesses, other homes, everything like that, or you don't go out further than 2 miles when you're in a desert community, those things can cause detrimental problems in your case in the long run. You want to get more than not enough. And they shot too small. They should have had a larger. They should have had at least a 5 mile. We had 1 acre properties out there. There should have been at least a 5 mile radius for all videos from businesses and homes. The decisions that they made. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. I'm sorry. I just don't. I think anybody that's been doing this for any significant amount of time probably is in the same boat I'm at. I'm just looking at this and thinking, why did they make these? These were terrible decisions, folks. Terrible. Just awful decisions that were had by Pima County Sheriff and his deputies and the investigators in this case. Terrible decisions.
I think it's because people have given us their information and they're moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Those tips, because I got a tip on February 2nd and we couldn't make heads or tails out of it, doesn't mean it's just dismissed.
Right.
It's something that's cataloged and put aside. And as other tips come in, they're compared with one another. Maybe we've got a piece of evidence that can relate back to a tip. Cell phone downloads might get us something. There's all kinds of information on this case. And when the public slows down their calls, I don't think it's because they don't care. I think they've answered us. I think we had a plea from Savannah yesterday, and we share those sentiments. Somebody out there knows something. We know that. We want that person to call us. And so we continuously say, if you know something, call the FBI hotline, call the Sheriff's Department tips line, but call.
Yeah. You mentioned Savannah. Have you spoken to her recently? She released that video yesterday, and I think a lot of people are probably wondering what the status is of the relationship between your office and the family.
Well, our relationship is a good relationship. These are tough times. But no, I've not spoken with Savannah recently. She has my contact number as you.
She has my contact number. Oh, Okay, this is not the first sly comment that Nanos has made toward the Guthrie family. He tries to act like they're not sly, but we caught him earlier on in the case when they were asking, have you talked to Savannah? He's like, oh, no, she has her own people. Just kind of really condescending. So...
And the rest of the world seems to have. But she's very gracious, and she doesn't need to contact the sheriff. She needs a team that she's very well aware of that works with her, and she's in contact with them at any moment of day, any time of day that she needs to.
You also mentioned,
as is the rest of the family.
Of course.
But nobody knows where the rest of the family is. How many people have watched other channels? Does anybody know where Annie and Tommaso is? Because everybody's been saying Annie and Tommaso has taken, they're not at home, that they fled, like they're gone. I don't know, that's what I'm hearing. It's not like I'm monitoring their movements or anything like that, but people are saying that neighbors are saying they haven't seen the family, they haven't seen anybody, they haven't seen Savannah, they haven't seen Cameron, which Savannah and Cameron, they live in different states altogether, but Annie and Tommaso were heavily involved in Nancy Guthrie's weekly events and such, and nobody has seen that. That's what I'm hearing. And then, of course, Savannah and the shakeup going on in NBC. We got Carson Daley stepping down from The Voice. We got Al Roker and Craig Melvin taking sabbaticals. We got Miss Savannah flying off to overseas to film Wordle. But the weird thing is she's not overseas filming Wordle. She's here at Hoda's house. It's like... everybody's lying to everybody about everything when it comes to everything. Like, nobody's being truthful about what's going on at any aspect of this case. Savannah's nothing is being truthful. Everything is a lie to us, and that's what everybody's feeling. And I think everybody is kind of frustrated about that. Are waiting in line to get the death certificate, in my opinion. Groovy Gal says. Yeah, some people just don't have any...
You also mentioned the task force in one of your previous answers. Can you tell us kind of the status of that task force, how many members from the FBI, how many members from your office, and kind of how that has contributed to the investigation?
Well, so there's a core task force here.
He's asked for a specific number. Chris Nanos refuses to give a specific number because we've already reported the task force being abysmal at this point. And he's not going to give a number.
The FBI has task force all across the country.
Right.
We've been a member of their task force, a violent crime task force, for decades. This task force for the Guthrie case consists of a handful of detectives from my agency and a sergeant lieutenant and the chain of command, as well as several agents here locally. That task force, that core group, works together, and as information comes in, it may be something that requires attention from, say, Washington. Maybe it's, hey, this piece of digital evidence, we know that you guys have a team that's good at that. Can you send it out? And they'll send it there. Just as there may be some local pieces of information that the FBI here says, hey, we need to go and find this person and interview them. So it does this in terms of its growth in that. But the core membership has been there from day one.
The core membership.
And they continue to meet daily.
Just for kind of a direct comparison.
And we've had a debate over what this membership is. We don't know what this membership is. He keeps referring to a membership. And we don't know if it's a group of other officers, if it's, the good old boys club. We don't know what they're meaning by the membership.
And from the beginning of the investigation, has it grown or shrunk again from the beginning period?
Oh, I think day one, it was the task force, the FBI Violent Crime Task Force, which we're a member of. right there at the scene. The membership were there.
They're
Our
still
team was there.
sidelined.
There's a lot was said from, I guess, Director Patel about how we delayed contacting them. I just think he's misinformed and doesn't understand that.
No, he's lying.
That
Chris
evening,
Nanos is
when
lying.
this event was actually the afternoon of the first one we first learned of it.
I'm sorry. Puddin's lying. Puddin is lying. Okay, I just want to let you know, truth meet puddin. Puddin meet truth. Okay, you guys, the truth is in the puddin. Chris Nanos is a liar. We can prove it. Actually, you know what? I can prove it right here. Excuse me, right here. I can prove it right here. This is where I can prove it. Right here. This is the lead of the FBI and the FBI behind him, okay? We didn't see these two people. We saw the one FBI agent. He wasn't the lead. He wasn't the big guy. Okay? The big guy's in the striped tie. Okay? The other guy is his subordinate. Okay? So the blue tie guy was there on the 3rd. Not the 1st, not the 2nd, the 3rd. This here, where we get Big Cheese, Mr. Pink or Red and Blue Stripe guy, Big Cheese, we get him on the 5th. Okay, this right here is proof in the pudding right here. Okay? This right here is proof in the pudding right here. When you see Tweedledee and Tweedledum by themselves on February 2nd, where's the FBI? I thought FBI was here day one working with you, bro. Oh, again, I don't want to keep going through this, but I've got records for days. Proof meet puddin'. Okay? So puddin' ain't being too forthcoming. Puddin' being puddin'. He lied through his teeth. Sheriff Puddin'. Criminal Sheriff Puddin'.
Yeah.
Our detectives were called in after our search and rescue team recognized what they had, contacted our investigative teams. They immediately contacted the Violent Crime Task Force, and their...
Again, I just showed you the receipts. I can show you with who's on stage with him to show you who's all actively working the case.
Representatives were there. They processed that scene early the next day, the very next day, within hours of that scene processing. I held a press conference. I think everybody has video of it, where myself and the special agent in charge from Phoenix and the agent in charge from Tucson.
Oh, really? So you're talking about February 5th. That's not immediate. And if you're not talking about February 5th, you're talking about February 3rd, which again is not immediate. This is the only time we see the FBI agent. This is the 3rd. Let's get this. There he is. So this is the first time we have an agent.
AM to...
All right, there he is. So there's the first FBI agent we ever see on stage, and this is February 3rd. Not February 1st, not February 2nd. February 3rd. At minimum 3 days after her abduction. That's pretty close to a 4-day sit out, right? They might have been there, but they weren't working. They weren't working. So again, I'm sick of the lies, but let's go back.
Are right there on stage with me to answer any questions. So the concept or the representation that the FBI was held off and boy, we wish we'd have been there early on, that's just not even accurate. They were there day one, just as my team was.
Just to follow up on that, because you're referencing Kash Patel's appearance on...
I just wanted to let you know, if you guys were here for just a few moments, you would have seen I have just blown... I just poked a whole bunch of waters in the lies that Chris Nanos says. Listen, if he was being truthful, whether I like him or not, I'm going to stand up here and fight because he's being truthful. This man is lying through his teeth about this aspect, and there's a reason why they keep going back and he keeps lying about it, because he knows he did it and he knows it was detrimental to the case. And trust me, the FBI is not going to wear the loss. They're going to put the loss right on this man because that's where it needs to be.
on Fox News, where he had said that if the FBI had been brought in earlier, there could have been more video discovered. I'm wondering kind of more directly what your response is to that and what the status of your relationship is with specifically the FBI director.
Well, I don't know the FBI director. Never met him. So my relationship is what we see or hear as you do
Right.
On the news. But that's fine. He's a busy man. He's got a big job, just as I do. What's more important is what is my relationship, and more important than that, my team's relationship with the local FBI office here that we work with
Right.
every day on all kinds of cases. It's a great relationship. Look, Director Patel, he has information flow to him from across the world, probably. Just as
He has information flowed to him. So he's basically saying that Kash Patel is not here on the streets, that somebody's telling him this. Well, if all FBI agents are playing nice together, wouldn't they be giving Kash Patel good reporting? Wouldn't they be saying we're working well together, we're hitting on all cylinders? So if Kash Patel's being fed this information, then he's being fed this information by agents that are working with him and his team. So he's speaking out of both sides of his mouth and trying to explain this away, but you can't. Because even if he's being fed this information, who's feeding him this information? Somebody on the grounds there. He's not going to be listening to somebody in BFE give him a report instead of the agents right there on the scene. He's going to be listening to the agents right there on the scene. So it's the agents at the FBI, local FBI, that's feeding him in this nonsense. And it's not nonsense, probably a poor word for me to use, because it's not nonsense. They're the ones feeding Kash Patel this information, the local people. Because I can tell you, I know enough about Kash Patel to know that he's not going to call somebody in the UK to get reports on what's happening in Pima County. He's going to reach out to people in Pima County to get reports on Pima County. So if he's being told this, guess what? They're coming from local agents that are working with Chris Nanos and his team. Clearly, because Chris Nanos is acknowledging that right here. Just my opinion. Just my opinion.
As I get information, I've got 1,500 employees, and it gets up to me. Sometimes that information is filtered. It's not with any kind of ill intent or anything. It just happens. So I think that Director Patel heard information early on that just was inaccurate.
No, it's not. We can prove that the FBI's were not on stage with you, dude. The first time we see an FBI on stage with this man right here is on February 3rd, outside of the first 48. I don't want to hear any more about it.
And he certainly doesn't owe me an explanation or a question or anything. He's the director of the FBI. But when the information is put out there that's not accurate.
Right, because the director of the FBI just puts out fake information all the time. Right. This is about the equivalent to the criminal saying, I didn't do it. I'm innocent.
I think it helps. It hurts the case. And so individuals like yourself to come out and ask for accurate information from me, I never have a problem answering.
And
he never has a problem answering the information. He's right about that. The problem is him constantly walking back after he answers all those questions. That's what we have a problem with. I'm just saying, not playing. You can't.
And we appreciate you doing so. I want to switch gears a little bit to some of the physical evidence, and I know you're going to be limited as to what you can say on this front. There's been a report that the back door and the back gate were propped open, reportedly with flower pots. Was that true? And if so, was that done for the intruder to make some kind of a faster exit?
So, again, a couple of questions there. First of all, you're right. I can't talk to the scene.
So we have had information on the flower pots. Nanos, flower pots, Nancy Guthrie. Let's see what we can find out. Did we have Chris Nanos about a week ago? Nope, he definitely didn't have the flower pots in there. No, I think the flower pots might have been released. April 2nd. So let's read about how the flower pots were released. Let's see what we get on this one. All right, maybe this can put some clarity on the flower pots and the reason why I'm stopping this for the flower pots is because Wyatt went on Ashley Banfield and they were kind of, just having a conversation, a public conversation back and forth. Tie the idiot's hands down, see if he can talk. That sounds like violence. We can't do that. No. Trust me, there are a few things. We are glad violence is not the answer. There are laws. We follow the laws, thank goodness. The flocking flower pots, right? The grubby hands, the deflowering of the flower pots. That's right. This is going to bring us back to that whole skit of Ashley Banfield. Good gracious. So the question is, did this come from a reliable source or was this one of the secret sources? I'm starting to believe, I can't remember. That's why I wanted to fact check it before I open, because I can't remember. So let's figure out about the flowering pots. So Nancy Guthrie, this is from Hindu Times. So anything, usually when I hear things from the Hindu, I call Hindu Times, Hindustan Times. I can't ever pronounce it right. I don't know what it's called. But either way, usually when it's on here, it's coming from maybe not such a reliable source, right? This is a great publication. I'm not dogging the publication. It's a legitimate publication. It's not a fake publication, but they do pull some of their talking points from not from the normal places that other publications pull from. Okay, there we go. I spit it out. Nancy Guthrie's abductor used flower pots to open doors. New details emerged about smashed cameras and lights. And we've got a breaking news story, guys. You guys think the whole breaking news story on Luke Daley and the charges that he's facing was breaking? Wait until this afternoon's. I'm not even going to leak. That's why I haven't put it up yet. My show for tonight is mind-blowing show. Mind-blowing show. We've got critical information that you are not going to want to miss. And I have a funny feeling I'm going to be I'm not even going to tell when I'm rolling because there's so many slimy little creatures out here. I'm just going to keep it to myself. I'm going to roll when I roll. So if you guys have not subbed up to this channel or set your bell to all, you might want to go do that now because you're not going to want to miss tonight's show. Tonight's show has a bombshell. It's already done. I've already got the thumbnail prepared. Everything's ready. The whole show is ready for tonight. Another bombshell show because I had this show. I was discussing with myself whether to come live tomorrow or last night about it, but I saw Justin was going to be talking about Nancy Guthrie and I didn't want to overstep. I didn't know what he was talking about and I didn't know if he had the same information that I did or not. So I ended up talking about how upset I was about the content creators that are lying to their audience and keep putting my name in their mouth. Keep me out of your mouth. I want nothing to do with you or your kind. And quite frankly, there's two more people. Yeah, there's two more people I'm going to sue, but you're not even talking about them. So, just saying, has nothing to do with me. I cannot sue. I just want to be very clear to all of Queen Bee's audience. I can't, even if I wanted to sue her, I can't sue her. And this whole thing about breaking privilege, that's only when the lawsuit is active and ongoing. There is no privilege. She's not entitled to privilege after the case is over. Now, and that privilege is only for her attorney, not for her. So she is allowed for there's nothing I can go back and sue her for. The way that her attorney drafted the court, the order, it made everything, and so the only way I can actually sue her for anything is if I appeal that order, and my rights to appeal, I had like 10 days to appeal it. That's long gone. There's nothing I can do. Her privilege is done. So don't let her lie to you. And she can call me a liar all she wants, but this is what I'm going to tell you. Don't listen to either one of us. Reach out. I couldn't think of the word I was trying to discuss. I was so frustrated. The Bar Association. Every single state has the Bar Association, and you can reach out to any type of civil litigation attorney for a nominal fee. But the question that you'll be asking them, they'll probably give you the answer free of charge without even paying for it. But if you want to fact check me, I can guarantee I'm 100% accurate while she's lying to you still. But both of those bees are lying to you through their teeth. She didn't pay $100,000 for the lawsuit. She paid probably about 40, maybe 45 at best. And that is being very, very gracious because we only went, so I'm thinking 5,000, 5,000. We have 5,000 here. So we're already up to 15. I can only equate about 20 to 25,000 for what they've done so far. So I'm giving her $15,000 of credit here. Okay, because what her attorney did was not more than $30,000 worth of work. So there's no way in hell. And this is something, again, used to work in law firms. I know how to bill. Okay. So at the end of the day, I know exactly what she most likely spent for her representation because I know what the law states about how lawyers can bill for their time. And I know what the most expensive lawyer in that state is. So I already know how much most likely per hour this dude is charging her. I have a range. So I can calculate how many, because I, again, used to work for lawyers. So I know how long it takes to do legal research. I know billable hours. So she's lying to all of you. But so is Burnt Toast, because Burnt Toast, I doubt, paid anything. She definitely didn't fork over $15,000. There was no quash of service or subpoena because it was never issued to quash. So they're both lying to their audience. And they're both using me as the club for each other. Let me just fix the whole problem for you. You both are lying to your audience. Keep my name out of your mouth. And, when I have an opportunity, if I really wanted to sue, let me just be very, very clear to Miss Queen Bee and her panel. If I want to sue anybody, I can go to federal court and unmask anybody. You guys are dirty bitches. You guys have broken the law. I have more than a plethora of evidence against all people involved about the atrocities they've done to me and my channel for clicks and views. And harassment purposes for no other reason than to harass somebody. Trust me, I have you guys dead to rights. Okay? The problem with Queen Bee is she hasn't really done anything since our court case for me to sue her. As soon as she does, I'm dragging her ass back to court, and she knows it. There's a reason why I can't drag her ass back to court right now, because if I could, I would. I can't. Because of the order of the court. So don't let her lie to you anymore. Don't let her use big words like privilege. She's not entitled to privilege after the case. Okay? The privilege is, she can hide behind privilege if she so chooses, but she lied to you guys. She told you she was going to collect this and she was going to spend it on her. And I tried to protect you guys. I did. I tried to find out so I could show you guys the receipts because I knew she was going to lie to you. She was going to steal from you. She was going to use you, abuse you, and steal from you. And she did. And I told you before you guys did this is exactly what she's going to do. So you know what I've got for all of you? Followed by... Because I can tell you we broke the freaking hate channels. You guys can't afford dick. You guys can afford to throw this little bit of money, but you guys are going to be paying for those bills for the next 10 years. Because you guys are a bunch of dumbasses, and I told you, you let hate override your asses. And now you guys are all fighting amongst yourselves, trying to show that Queen Bee took advantage of you. Well, duh! Well, duh! She manipulated you to think I was the one that was lying so she could scam you guys out of just about everything you own. And she did a great job, and you guys are still the dumbasses rooting her on in the chat. Thanks for robbing us blind! Yay! Yay! We appreciate that. Thanks for robbing us blind. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. So let's get back to this. Amid the search, broadcaster Ashley Banfield says a source told her. Okay, so we didn't get it from, because somebody had said something about the flower pots, and it was on Ashley Banfield. I'm like, nah, that's not how it went. I think it was Ashley Banfield that broke it. I don't think law enforcement ever said anything about the flower pots.
scene or what's there. I know that's frustrating for everybody. I try to be
It's understandable, I will say.
with my media as I can and my community, but we do have to protect some of the integrity of the investigation. If that was the case, or why that happened, or anything, that's all speculative, and we don't get into that. We investigate it, gather all the facts, put together a team, and try to work it from there.
There's also been, again, I know you might have the same answer here, but just in terms of the blood patterns, both inside and outside of the house, not necessarily am I asking you to confirm where the blood was, because I know you probably can't get into that, but did the location of the blood help your investigation in determining perhaps, where she was taken to, or again, just anything that you can tell us there?
Again, I'm sorry. Why?
It's okay.
I'm not going to talk about the actual scene or anything of
Good luck, Haley.
the location of the evidence that was obtained. Again, my apologies, but I just
No
can't.
problem. No problem. Again, very understandable. 5 months ago with Elizabeth Vargas, you had said, and this is kind of, I think, it's
Agreed,
the
Jamie.
uncomfortable and unfortunate question but I think it has to be asked. And that was, again, 5 months ago with Elizabeth Vargas on News Nation, you said you believe that Nancy Guthrie was still alive. I haven't seen you, directly answer that recently. Can you tell us kind of what your analysis would be on that front right now?
I loathe hearing Chris Nanos talk about whether this lady's alive or dead. I loathe it. 7.4, breaking news, 7.4 quake near Columbia. Just FYI. 7.4 earthquake on the Richter scale in Columbia. Yeah.
It's a question that I'm asked often. And I guess my answer to you would simply be this. I understand why people would say she's dead.
Yeah.
I get that. But where's the benefit in my believing she's dead when
proper classification of the case for the proper resources to be assigned to the case? It is much different for us to classify a case versus law enforcement classifying a case. Law enforcement classification of a case, it promotes different, it kicks in different resources and different protocols than just a missing person or an abducted person. That's why. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do everything with the proper classification and the resources and protocols that kick in when those classifications change. This guy really does think we're dumbasses.
there's no proof of her death in front of me? I understand the investigation, all the thoughts of her whereabouts.
Thoughts of her whereabouts. Okay. Thoughts of her whereabouts. Let's see. Let's see what he said back on February 2nd.
Has some physical challenges, is in need of medication. Medication that if she doesn't have in 24 hours, it could be fatal.
Okay, now that we got that cleared up.
Everybody has a right to have an opinion and voice it. But as the sheriff of Pima County, as the head of the law enforcement here in this community,
Criminal.
what is the benefit of the sheriff saying she's dead?
Proper classification, proper protocol, proper procedures, proper standard SOP, those types of things. I mean, who cares about procedure and protocol? I guess that's a pipe dream in Pima County.
Yeah,
if the family believes that there's hope, that there's some chance that she might still be with us, why should I crush that hope?
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know why you should crush that, but maybe let's look at the statement. Where is Miss Guthrie's statement? It is on a Facebook somewhere. This one? Let's see. Let's see how the family feels. Okay, here we go. And there is a determination in us that cannot be quenched to find out what happened to her so that we can give her the dignity of a proper goodbye, a celebration of her remarkable life that she so deserves. That does not sound like a family that believes their loved one is still alive, but I guess Mr. Chris Nanos did not get that memo.
Right.
There's no evidence to show it. Trust me, if we find something that indicates a burial site or something of that nature.
Death has nothing, death is not a burial site. Death is when somebody is murdered, whether you have a body or not. When somebody is ripped out of their bed in the middle of the night and they have heart problems, and the doctor tells you, oh my gosh, they have no medication, they cannot survive without medication, it seems pretty ignorant for the largest body, law enforcement body, to be hooked up that she's still alive when everybody knows there is, at this point, a zero, and I say that very, very strongly, a 0% chance this lady has lived through this. 0% at this point. There is no, the statistics, there is nothing. She's dead. There's no possibility. 0%. 0% of life.
Absolutely. We're going to share that. That's critical. But we're going to share it with the family.
Crystal.
And so my personal beliefs, really, that's what they are. I believe that I'm going to support the Guthrie family every way possible. And if they believe she's alive, so do I.
Okay, well, they don't believe she's alive, so does that change your position? Sounds about typical of the Nanos response.
In terms of some of the DNA, standard DNA testing, obviously it varies in terms of how long it takes. You said recently, though, that you still have a lot of DNA to go through and kind of assess the validity of it, if you will. Is the holdup now that it is forensic familial genealogy and you're kind of trying to, tick them off in kind of a family tree type setting to eliminate members of the family? Or I know you've said to an extent that all of them have been cleared, but the way that the Golden State Killer case was worked, for example, is there any comparisons from this case to that one?
So the DNA, first of all, I am no expert. In DNA, when I started 20 years ago, it was just breaking out. My team is way above me in discussing that with me.
Right.
They just get it and they understand it, and that makes me feel pretty comfortable in knowing the right people are working this case. But more important than just my investigators, it is the lab. Those are the scientists, and they have rules, just like courts. We have rules and procedures and policies we have to follow.
What policy or procedure was it, Mr. Nanos, criminal sheriff of Pima County Sheriff's Office? What is it to leave? What procedure is it to leave evidence at the front door? What procedure is it that you don't dust for prints on a doorknob or a missing bracket that had a camera on it once upon a time, or foliage that's out of place, like you can't explain why there's weeds up by the door that are all smashed and torn apart. You can't figure that out. But are those, is that the stuff that you're referring to here? Because I would think that they have to collect the information properly in order for it to be submitted for testing. Is that the procedures that you're talking about that are so important to you to be followed that weren't followed? I mean, I'm just curious. I think a lot of people have these same questions. Just thought.
And they have rules, just like courts. We have rules and
that they don't
procedures
follow.
and policies we have to follow to keep the investigation credible.
Of course.
Labs are no.
So you mean shutting down a crime scene and reopening it? Is that credible work? I mean, I just don't know. I just feel like that's just not how you're supposed to do it. I don't know. It seems like this is the first time I've ever seen it done this way, and I've been watching this for a long time, and it makes me feel like this is the first time I've seen it done this way in a decade. Well, then it's probably being done incorrectly. Just novel idea.
Different. They have their rules of science that they have to go through. So I think what you were asking is, are we at familial type of DNA, not just our genetic DNA?
Yeah.
Are we doing something to find maybe it's the second cousin that?
Yeah.
What I would tell you is
investigative genetic genealogy, where Cece Moore kind of comes in and her team kind of comes in and starts working these family trees, something like that. Yeah, those things are legitimate. Thank you, Jamie. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. You know, and again, it comes down to, it's quite interesting. He's got yes, he does. But you know, I think a lot of I'm short, and I take no shit. And I wonder all the time, is this the Neapolitan complex that everybody's talking about? I'm not gonna lie. I keep wondering, because I am a short person, and it's like, you know, I'm also like a, you know, at times. So it makes me wonder, do I have a little, am I part of that club? Am I part of the short man club? Am I part of the short man club? Is Betty one of them? Is she? We're not putting it to a vote. I just thought I'd let you know we're not putting it to a vote. I don't want to know the answer. I don't want to know how my audience truly feels. I'm sorry. Things are just better left not known. Okay. I'm from the I don't want to know tribe. Okay. Part of the Slapaho tribe. But hey, who's counting? Stop.
both. We're doing all of it. And
Okay.
that's really the labs are doing it all. They're looking at genealogy, but they're also looking at specific pieces of
Thank you for
evidence
noticing.
that they're hoping to get enough codi to say, this is who we're looking at.
And again,
But the one positive of this is for genetic genealogy to even be involved, that means we have to have a profile, guys. There's a profile. There is some DNA results that have come back. What are those DNA results on? Like, I am so curious how we have genetic genealogy working in this case right now. That's telling me we've got hits on something. I literally have no earthly idea what we have hits on. But I checked it 15 ways from Sunday. There's no way we can have genetic genealogy involved in any case without having a profile to work with. It's impossible. They can't work without a profile.
to your earlier comment about how you do still have a lot of DNA to progress through, are you able to quantify that at all as to how long it might take to get through the DNA that investigators and those on the scene have pulled?
I just love this answer.
Not really, not me. The labs may, but I think the labs, this science is so fast, all science, today's world, so fast moving.
Of course.
And they are looking at some pretty cool stuff out there, if you will, about DNA and how it can be used, not in just these cases, but in other scientific genealogy cases. So they're careful, as they should be. Absolutely nobody wants to arrest the wrong person. And so we have those, if you will, parameters that say, here's the guidelines. And we have to trust our labs to know those guidelines and not to push them, to allow them to do their job and come back to us and say, we think we're here and we need to be over here.
Right.
Can you do this for us? Can you get us this? Is there any chance of this?
I will tell you, it's pretty interesting that there have been other people excluded by the use of this investigative genetic genealogy since this case. Hello, Jack. It's nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. But very interesting that we do have some people already, I want to say cleared, but I don't know if we should call them cleared, because I don't think they were ever suspects, but they were definitely excluded as being participants. So they have some type of DNA that is getting hits on it, and the people that are attributed to that bloodline so far have all been excluded. So we have a profile of something. Is this the suspect's profile or not? Very interesting.
It's probably more complex than we want to get into, but I'll say this. The communication with our labs is ongoing. It's daily. They know the technology. They know that, for example, a lab in Kansas might be on the verge of something new, groundbreaking over here, where there's a lab in LA that's on the groundbreaking of.
I thought I need to find the conversation about, let's see, Guthrie keeping one Florida lab. I think this is the right date. It's right. It's during the right time. A glove found at the Nancy Guthrie crime scene headed to a private lab in Florida, sidestepping the FBI elite crime lab in Quantico. Officials told Reuters that Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos decision effectively blocks the FBI's access to key evidence in the investigation into the abduction of 84-year-old mother of television journalist Savannah Guthrie. The FBI had requested that the glove, which could be critical to solving the case, be processed at its National Crime Laboratory in Quantico, Virginia. However, Nanos reportedly insisted on sending it to a private lab in Florida instead. Remember, this is another contention that he said was a lie. And he actually said, if I can find it, Pima County Sheriff has spent $200,000 so far on evidence in the Guthrie case to the Florida lab per reports. Conversely, Nanos told KVO the lab's DNA analysis into Guthrie was pro bono, which was a lie. But there was a point when he said, and I don't think it's in this article, where he said that he wanted to keep it, that he made the decision to keep it to one lab, that they thought it would be beneficial to keep all the evidence in one lab. And now, and the reason why I stopped to point that out is because now he's talking about all the labs all over the United States, which again, the reason why he delayed this case for almost 2 months was because he thought the smartest way to handle this case was to keep all of the evidence in one lab. Well, you see how that works. This guy's an idiot. He's been an idiot making terrible decisions for this case for a long time. The stuff should have went to Quantico. They would have processed it immediately. We would have not have had a 2-month delay. We had a 2-month delay because of this Yahoo. 2 months. 2 months.
They're just working the case as a priority, and they're working it nationwide.
There was a reporter who recently read one of the notes, ransom notes that was on the record, and it referenced something to the effect of outside of Tucson. Setting aside the notes, obviously, the side that the FBI is handling, do you believe the person responsible for this could still very well be in the Tucson area?
Oh, absolutely. Could be, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
We constantly talk about, we've got the same.
He's being choked up on here. Could the person still be in Tucson? Let's go back to that question. Chris Nanos is getting choked up. Why is Chris Nanos getting choked up on this question? That's what makes me stop and pause and ask some questions here. Why would Chris Nanos be getting choked up on questions on whether the assailant could still be in Tucson? Do they have an idea who this might be? Because it seems like he's reluctant to answer that, but it's such a stupid question. It's hard to say this goes to the integrity of the investigation. You know what I'm saying? So let's check this out. Let's go back.
Very well be in the Tucson area.
Oh, absolutely. Could be, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
We constantly talk about, we've got the same information you have, that the cartels took her, or somebody in New York has her, or where we hear that. I think that the key for you to understand there is all of this information that's out there, we take it all very seriously.
Yeah.
And we have to. And we investigate every single lead until we can't follow it any further, or until we can look and this adds to the frustration.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk of ransom notes, look at the number of ransom notes that have come in and led to arrest for fraud, right?
Mm-hmm. So we had a lot of arrests, and this is important because we only heard of Derek Colella. And why did we only hear of Derek Colella? Well, we only heard from Derek Colella about the arrest there because somebody leaked that to the media. We talked about this on the show because we found out there was a lot of people across this country that were arrested for these false extortion ransom notes in the Guthrie case. But people were shocked to find out that Derek Colella was not the only person arrested, yet he was the one that got the public scrutiny. There were multiple people around this country, and it pisses me off that they were able to skate without publicity in this case when we should all be able to see who is doing this type of stuff behind the scenes. And they blocked that. The FBI blocked it from us. The Pima County Sheriff blocked us from us. And it has nothing to do specifically with the Nancy Guthrie case, but it does because they're being charged with extortion in the Nancy Guthrie case. But why would they not allow us to know who's been arrested? Is that not a public information? Even if the FBI arrested him, we still pay for the FBI. It's still public information that we're entitled to know. So who else was arrested in conjunction with this case for these extortion attempts? I'd like to know. How many of you guys would like to know? And guys, if you're still here from our on this live show and you've been with us for a while and you haven't yet hit that thumbs up button, please consider hitting that thumbs up button. If you've made it this far on the replay crew, please consider hitting that thumbs up button and a hype. Thank you all for being here. At this point, if you are still here in the show and you've been here from the beginning, we've been here for 2.5 hours and we're still not done. So let's keep going.
It's a shame that people want to do that, take advantage of or try to take advantage of a system. And it's also a shame that we have to stop what we're doing to try to figure out.
I agree with this. You know, it makes me, it unnerves me when people interject bullshit into these cases because they do. I've talked to many detectives and they do have to stop what they're doing and look at that aspect of it. And it pulls them away. And if you guys work in an office or anything like that, have you ever worked and you have your mind, you've been working this thing for like 2 hours, you're in the zone, right? You're in the zone, you're working, and somebody stops you and redirects you over to something else, and then you got to come back to this task and you're no longer in the zone. I feel like it's something like that.
What this is about, but it's part of it. It really is. And so every time somebody calls in with a ransom note, they need to know we're going to investigate it to its fullest. And should we find you, you will be charged and held accountable. I think a young man in California recently got sentenced 10 years or something.
Yes, and you know what? All of these people should be put up here because the more we advocate and show how many years these people are doing in jail instead of keeping it all under wraps, people will get a clue and will stop doing this stuff because they'll see people are getting put in jail for 10 years and they are finding them. And I think it's important that we put this on blast and show people, you monkey with our cases, you send this crypto crap to our cases causing all these problems, we're going to make you famous. And not only are we going to make you famous, we're throwing you in jail for a decade. You know, it might make people stop and say, yeah, you know what, I need money and I have a drug problem, but I ain't doing that.
Something like that. Just look, don't do that.
Yeah,
if I had anything to tell you, don't put yourself at risk there. We are working this very closely. We know the ransom notes that exist. We hand them to the FBI. They're experts in that field, and we
have a great day, Lisa.
What's going on there? But yeah, every note is taken extremely serious.
There was the tip that came in a little while ago about Nogales and Sonora in Mexico. I know you've commented on
Sonora. Remember that. Sonora. Remember that. Sonora. Where did we hear that? Luke Daley's arrest. Sonora Desert area.
On it before, but do you think there should have been perhaps a bigger or earlier effort to coordinate with the Mexican authorities?
Well, I don't know what earlier on was or what you talk about coordination. You know, we work here on the southern Arizona border. In fact, Pima County
Alcoholics,
has
nice
the
to
largest
see you, love.
shared border with Mexico than any county in the nation, 126 miles. We have, not just with the FBI, but with DEA and ICE and others, task force members all across this county.
I'm not sure what this is. It says pretty little clues. Wants you to know the case number for Pima Narcotics Alliance case is 22. That looks like it's a case from 2022. Pretty little clues. Can you send me an email explaining that to me? I'm not going to be able to cover it on this show, but we might be able to hit it on, because I'm going to be talking about some other breaking news tonight. Tonight's going to be. It's going to be pretty interesting. I think we've got some breaking news that's coming out tonight. I mean, we've got breaking news right now, but I'm dropping this breaking news today about his record. But we got another tidbit of breaking news this evening that you're not going to want to miss. And it also is, it might circle back to Luke Daley again, but we won't know. I'll present it and see where it rolls, where it takes our channel tonight. So when am I going to do the show? I don't know. It's going to be this afternoon. I'm not giving a time because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are trying to do some stupid stuff. I really don't care. But it's also telling me we're going to be going into kind of incognito type of thing. So I'm going to pop up when I pop up. It's going to be definitely groundbreaking information. We got some tidbit of information. We do know something. But I'm not going to present it to you today, right this moment. We're going to present it today. It's going to be this evening, but not right now. Huge information we found out. Huge information. Thank you for all the people that are coming in. Oh, Jumpers, 5 Bullhorn Betty memberships. We appreciate you. Alcoholic, all that in Sunseen. All that Sunseen. I don't know what that means, but it's nice to see you, Texas woman, Angel, and Jen. Welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Grab your straitjacket in your padded room and welcome aboard. And Lori, have a great nap. We all need naps every now and again. So it's nice to see you. Thank you. We do appreciate you. So it looks like that's a case. That would be a case from 2022. I emailed you. It was about the weapon and things. Oh. Thank you. Okay, so it was from a 2022 case. Perfect. So it was another narcotics type of case. So this is going to be like his third. Oh my gosh. That might mean this might be his third strike. He might be up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. I don't know how they do the laws. Thank you, Pretty Little Clues. I appreciate you for that. I appreciate you. Oh, guys, this might be exactly what happened. He might be in desperate need of a lot of cash. And it looks like he would be desperate to do something. Because if he's looking at some major time in prison over this last shindig with Kayla, this might explain. That might be the motive. I think we might have motive here, guys. I think we might have motive. This is getting a little bit interesting. Huh. And it would be a burglary gone wrong with Luke Daley.
And so we know when crimes occur that, yes, there's a chance that somebody may try to get into Mexico, or we use our federal partners because who has those relationships?
Mm-hmm.
Typically DEA, ICE, HSI, FBI. And so we're constantly in touch with them. Without getting into, again, too much detail, we know of those existence, and we work with those agencies down there. When we get tips that, I think we had one here recently that there were bodies found in Mexico, and we immediately gave that to the FBI, and they, within hours, learned that it was not related at all.
Okay.
Not related within hours.
I want to go back to something that you mentioned before as well, because you had said that obviously with the ransom notes and, people trying to profit off of it and stuff, it speaks to kind of this broader problem. And that is that when you have a case like this in the public eye, it can be helpful to an extent because you get all of the leads that you referenced earlier, but you also have people with bad motives and bad incentives. And in Pima County, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last before this happened, big example of a crime, or at least one that kind of captivated and got the nation's attention, was the shooting of Gabby Giffords. I wonder how, from your perspective, it has been having to deal with, say, the YouTubers who are trying to get into the scene. I know you've talked about that before, and just more broadly, again, some of the bad faith actors who have been involved here.
So, first of all, I headed up the investigation of the Giffords shooting. Mm-hmm. And we worked hand in hand, again, just like we did today, are doing today, with the FBI. That wasn't a whodunit, but certainly it was a very critical investigation and needed to be conducted properly. And to the point of here in Pima County, and these critical cases come up, and YouTubers and the media, media's changed. I've been at this game since 1976.
Media has changed, and arresting independent journalists is not how you get yourself an attaboy. As a matter of fact, is how you get yourself a pink slip.
And we think of mainstream media, and then you also have now all the social media, and you have the YouTubers, if you will, or influencers.
Independent journalists. Independent journalists. Can we say that? Can we all say that in unison? Independent journalist. One of many hats that I wear. I'm an activist. Everything that I do under the color of the First Amendment of the Constitution. Sometimes it spills over to the Second Amendment, but I haven't been afforded my Second Amendment rights because they were unlawfully taken from me by a bunch of liars out in Sumner County, Tennessee, and we have a federal lawsuit to get those very rights back from these yahoos that lied under oath, and has unlawfully prevented me from having and affording me my second A, even though I'm not a felon anywhere in this country. Sumner County people are bastards. Every last one of you are bastards that are running that county.
It's just constantly evolving. I can always get into the argument or discussion about ethics for journalists and this, that, but I think that's a better discussion.
I'm going to tell you right now, there is no more ethics that were drilled into my head than becoming a paralegal. So I don't even want to hear. I know ethics. And I know that whenever I come out here and call this guy a dipshit, that's not really professional or necessarily ethical, okay? But standing in front of somebody's house, pointing a camera at their house is not unethical. As a matter of fact, it's a job that every single journalist in the business has done. So still trying to figure out where he's coming up with ethical. So far, people are like, oh, well, they put a face covering over their face, a ski mask over their face, and terrorized the neighborhood. They were sitting on a chair on the side of the road in a camera, not terrorizing a neighborhood. So let's cut this shit and let's start talking about the truth of what really happened. Okay? Terrorizing the neighborhood would be going and knocking on all the doors and saying, ah! Right? That would be terrorizing the neighborhood. Doing that in front of a camera like I'm doing it here. When I do that, who am I flipping off? Am I flipping off the people in Pima County? Am I flipping off you? Am I flipping off the sheriff? Who am I flipping off? Very unprofessional of me. Sorry, but I'm making a point. Who am I flipping off? Am I terrorizing the neighborhood by flipping a bird off on my own camera, on my own channel, on my own show? I just want to put it in perspective. Because everybody likes to use these big names like they put a mask on and were terrorizing the neighborhood. No, they put a mask on the side of a road and spoke into a camera. That's what they did. Hardly terrorizing a neighborhood. I almost guarantee not one person in that neighborhood probably even knew that they did it. Just saying.
Discussion had by people like yourself, mainstream media. When I talk about the YouTubers or those that have been in the neighborhood, I talk about them in regards that says you still have a level of professionalism you have to maintain.
Professionalism. Okay, standing on the side of the road resulted in 3 arrests because they stubbed one toe on the road when there's no sidewalks? And you sent some cops out there to manhandle them? Okay.
You can't just go into a community, a neighborhood, and start harassing people because they're tired of seeing you.
Harassing people? I never once saw one of them harass anybody. As a matter of fact, I saw them minding their own business, talking into their camera, and people driving by and harassing them. And then when they had something to say after being talked to deplorably by people that they weren't even talking to, that interjected themselves into their world, those people were harassing. But I didn't see the content creators harassing them. And I tell you what, whether it's this sheriff, one of his deputies, or a neighbor that talked to me like that, I would have been 3 feet down their throat. Okay? 3 feet. You guys were very, very lucky to have the professional journalists, independent journalists you did, because I can tell you, I'm literally a wild card. You can ask my own politicians. They never know what Andrew they're going to get. They never know what they're going to get. Because it really depends on how I wake up and how much you want to piss me off. Because that depends on how much I push buttons. But somebody came up and talked to me like that on their bicycle in front of their child, I would have made them feel 5 inches tall. So that's not harassing. That's putting people in their place. They chose to open up that conversation door and they got fed one of their bullshit sandwiches, which is exactly what they would have gotten from me. But actually, it would have probably been a lot worse. It would have been just a straight shit sandwich. So some professionalism, they were a hell of a lot more professional than I was.
And I get the First Amendment rights and all of those things, but I liken it to this. You live in an apartment complex and you can have your music on as loud as you like during the daytime. But 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, 1 in the morning, it gets a little bit...
That's why you have ordinances. If you don't have the proper ordinances, you got nothing to enforce. But at the end of the day, even if you had ordinances, those ordinances do not trump somebody's First Amendment rights. So you obviously clearly don't get First Amendment rights. Chris Nanos is walking around in circles, fumbling over his words, if you want a good laugh. I love it.
Disruptive. It's no longer your right to listen to that music at that volume or that.
Yeah, of
you
course.
have disrupted the others.
But
The
you're
same-
talking about a noise ordinance versus journalist pointing a camera at somebody's house, and you're talking about 2 o'clock in the morning. I doubt they were out there blasting music at 2 o'clock in the morning. So he's literally comparing apples and oranges, or I should say apples and grapes.
Same here for the YouTubers, and I've said this. If you can conduct yourself professionally, and
You don't get to choose that, you dumbass! Oh, don't make me smack this fool. Don't make me give him a slap-a-hoe sandwich. You are going down. You do not get to choose that. Who the fuck do you think you are, a king? You don't get to dictate somebody's how they move, what they say, where they go? The hell? Do we live in a third world country or America? And he said, oh, well, I get the First Amendment. Clearly you do not, sir. Clearly you do not. Come tell me where to go. Come tell me what to say. I double dog
get
dare
in
you.
and out of the neighborhood, I have no problems with that.
Bullshit.
But
Liar,
when the
liar.
neighbors call us continuously,
They're not the
Literally.
neighbors. We pulled the records. This man is a liar. These people were calling from Wisconsin. These people were calling from New York, New Jersey, Florida. What neighbors? You had one person from this community call. And that was after they received phone calls from other people in the community, or not community, from other people online that had their phone numbers. Sue Ellen deserves to be in jail. I would love for that lady to come and say boo to me. I would love for her to say boo to me. She does not want none. Sue Ellen, if you're watching the Bullhorn Betty channel, I will promise you, if you ever see this face, you don't want to say boo to me. You do not want to stop, because I will throw your recording. You can sue me, baby. You can do whatever you need to do, but baby, I'll see you here in Florida. And if you really want to push the issue, I'll start getting some picket signs and show up on the front of your yard, and I will start walking up and down your road. And I beg law enforcement to put one finger on me. I double dog dare you. This person right here will not lay a finger on me. I can promise you that. I can promise you that.
we did a study here to show in that neighborhood is a great neighborhood for us in terms of crime and relationships with the community. We had probably 50 calls there the whole time, the last 6.
Doesn't matter. The uncomfortability of your residence does not trump somebody's constitutional or civil rights, so this idiot still can't quite get it. You know what you tell people? Law enforcement, wake up. Wake up. So when you get phone calls like this, you know how you handle it? Ma'am, thank you for reaching out to us, but this is within their constitutional rights. They have every right to do that. I understand it's uncomfortable, but if we find out that you're making false reports, you will be the one holding that will be cited for it. Do you understand? Great. Is there anything else I can help you with? Are they threatening you in any way? Are they trying to kill you? Are they causing any bodily harm? No? Then they're within their rights. Have a great day, ma'am. If every law enforcement would handle that, you would stop the calls. Yeah, you would have an influx of calls, but once they knew the rules and knew the law, then guess what? Those calls would stop. Now, law enforcement wants to act like they can control First Amendment. No, you cannot. What will end up happening is you're going to push and you're going to get sued. Because people in America are much smarter than they once were, and there's a whole network of people. Like you guys got those network of flock cameras, we got networks of activists all over this country. And we plug into those network of activists. Okay? So, we're very smart on the law. We are much smarter today than we were 10 years ago. I promise you that. I promise you that.
Months, and that's an average over 5, 6, 7 years.
Right.
This year, in those same 5, 6 months,
Yeah, go tell that to a judge. We violated people's civil and constitutional rights because our phones rang. I'm sure the judge would love that. I'm certain that the appellate courts would love to hear this argument. I'm sure the Supreme Court would laugh your ass out of their courtroom.
We had like 180, 200 calls.
Nobody gives a shit about how many calls you have, Chris Nanos.
It is a disruption to the neighborhood.
Too bad.
I think that neighborhood originally was very gracious to a number of reporters. Maybe
they had no choice. I can't. I'm not going to finish this. I will scream. This lunatic that is known as the sheriff literally has no clue about the law. That's probably why he's being sued so much with multi-million-dollar lawsuits, because he clearly doesn't understand the Constitution. I'm not going to listen to any more of his horse shit. Clearly, we're a lot smarter than this idiot right here. Chris Nanos is a criminal sheriff. He probably should have never been a sheriff to begin with. He likes to beat people. When people don't like him, he likes to threaten them, throw them in jail, or put them on house arrest, or all the above. Chris Nanos is a terrible individual, a human being, okay? He's evil, and he's a piece of shit. And you'll find out that one thing that Bullhorn Betty hates more than a crooked politician, it's a dumb one. It's an idiot that wears a suit or wears a uniform, puts a badge on, puts a gun on, says, I am here to protect your constitutional rights, and then doesn't know what constitutional rights are. But knows how to use a flashlight to bludgeon a cuffed suspect. That to me is a bad cop. That to me is somebody that I don't really care to listen to. That is somebody that looks like this Yahoo right here that's sucking on something other than hot air. But at the end of the day, this is kind of the end of our show. I cannot stand Chris Nanos, and every time this man opens his mouth, he infuriates me. I wish this man nothing but retirement. I wish this man nothing but, I would say success, but he's too busy trying to check the size of his, his junior to even give a shit about anybody else, because it's all about him. It's all about how far he can piss, and it's all about everybody knowing that he's in charge and he's the smartest man in the room. So there you guys have it. Are there going to be more multi-million-dollar lawsuits to this man? Yeah, bet your ass there's going to be. Why? Because he's a freaking criminal that clearly doesn't know the law. But he's been in charge to uphold it. Pretty scary stuff. Pretty scary stuff. Okay, guys, well, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, kind to one another. I just want to appreciate all of you guys that came out to support this channel this morning. We really do appreciate it. We've been rolling out with a lot of breaking news on this channel, and we even have more for this afternoon. So if you haven't already subbed up to the Bullhorn Betty channel, now is a great time to hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, and of course change that bell to all so you never miss any great content from myself to you. We will see you in the near future.